Chapter 1820. Jian-in coldly looked at them and gave off dense killing intent as he said, "You're all seeking death." The others also exploded out with powerful auras, causing wild gales to blow out in all directions as they fearlessly looked at the sword hum. Xiong Xiao coldly said, "Do you think we'll attack you?" The two sides gave off massive auras as they faced off, causing the atmosphere to become quite heavy and making people feel quite afraid. Jian-in coldly looked at the people in front of him and gripped the sword at his waist. The battle was about to begin. Boom! A massive Emperor's aura flooded down from above, inundating the people below. Everyone's expressions fell, and they felt as if they had fallen into icy water. They felt a wave of terror as they looked at Zhao Fu on the throne. Zhao Fu looked quite angry because these people did not place him in their eyes at all. He said, "If you want to fight, immediately leave Qin City." If it wasn't for the fact that they had royal kingdom factions behind them, Zhao Fu would have already taught them a lesson. Only now did Jian-in and the others understand that they were still in Qin City's court and that they were in another faction, so they retracted their auras and dispersed them. However, they were quite surprised this time. They had heard that Qin City's legatee was very powerful, but they had never seen him before. Now that they had personally experienced it, they felt that he was indeed quite powerful, and no one here was a match for him. At the same time, Zhao Fu gave Long Yang, Bing Qixue, and the others a sense of familiarity, as if they had seen him before. Jian-in did not like staying here and said, "I'll say this one last time. The ancient sword sect is your best choice. If you've thought it through, you can come and find the ancient sword sect at any time." After saying this, Jian-in did not even look back as he turned and left. Seeing Jian-in leave, the others gave a trace of a smile. From how things were going, the ancient sword sect was the most advantageous competitor. Xiong Xiao smiled as she looked at Zhao Fu and said, "My Bear Mountain Kingdom's treatment will definitely not be inferior to the ancient sword sects. Please consider it." Long Yang said, "Our 8 Yuan sect has only just risen to a royal kingdom, so we need a faction like you. As such, we'll give you the most equal treatment. Those other factions are just subordinates to your faction." Zhao Fu frowned and replied somewhat rudely, "I've already said that Qin City will not submit to any faction. If that's your goal, please leave." A trace of anger appeared on Xiong Zhao's face, but he did not say anything and turned to leave. He could not continue to be mistreated here. Xiong Xiao looked quite angry, and did not say anything else as he turned and left. He did not want to continue. Long Yang looked at Zhao Fu seriously and did not want end. "Zhao Xiongqin," he said. "I, Zhao Zhao Yu Chen," I said. "I Zhao, he Emperor, Qin Chen, Emperor," I said. I Xiao a and an a. I, Zhao Fu replied, "You might be mistaken. I've always been in Qin City, so how could I have time to leave?" Bing Qixue gave an apologetic smile as he said, "I come from the Ice Origin Kingdom, and I sincerely want to invite Qin City to join the Ice Origin Kingdom. The Ice Origin Kingdom's offers are not bad, so I hope Your Excellency will consider them." This lowly one will take his leave now. At that moment, Qixue walked up and raised his head. He said with a trace of pride, "My imperial father said that as long as you join the Greenwood Kingdom, I'll marry you. Now that I'm interested in you, if you pursue me properly, perhaps I'll agree." Zhao Fu said rudely, "Apologies. I'm not interested at all." Hearing this, Qixue Qin felt quite angry and glared at Zhao Fu before leaving. Jiu Xiaoyun flirtatiously smiled and said, "I know that Your Majesty Qin City does not like that little girl. In actuality, I'm quite interested in Your Majesty. There seems to be an aura that attracts me. Your Majesty should be interested in me, right?" Zhao Fu looked at Jiu Xiaoyun's flirtatious face and seductive figure, and he did not lie, so he nodded. Jiu Xiaoyun's flirtatious smile became deeper as she said, "If Your Majesty is interested in me, I'll marry you and you'll become the Emperor's son-in-law. In the future, you can consider whether or not to join the Wine Cloud Kingdom. You'll still be the emperor of Qin City, and your authority will not change. Moreover, the Wine Cloud Kingdom will help you. What do you think, Your Majesty? Zhao Fu did not directly agree. Even though she had said that he could not only obtain beauties but also the Wine Cloud Kingdom's help, there was no free lunch in this world. However, the Wine Cloud Kingdom was the most sincere. The Ancient Sword Sect, Bear Mountain Kingdom, and 8 Origin Dragon Sect all asked for Qin City to submit, while the Greenwood Kingdom and Ice Origin Kingdom only asked for Qin City to join. Even though the Wine Cloud Kingdom wanted to join them, they did not ask for anything from Qin City. Instead, they wanted to provide help and marry their princess over. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu politely refused. If he agreed, Qin City would not be Qin City in the future. Jiu Xiaoyun lightly laughed and was not too disappointed as she said, "If Your Majesty changes your mind, you can come and find me. Your Majesty is welcome at any time." After saying this, Jiu Xiaoyun left. In the end, only Gu Qingyue was left. Zhao Fu looked at her and smiled as he said, "Will you also say that you'll marry me if I join the Ancient God Sect? Also, will you ask if I'm interested in you?" "I'll say yes, a little." Gu Qingyue felt quite speechless and rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu as she said, "I'm not the kind of woman you think I am, and I'm not interested in you. My man will definitely be a genius that will shock the world in the future. Even though you're strong, you're too ordinary. I came to ask you to join the Ancient God Sect. If you're willing, then agree. If you're not, then forget it." Zhao Fu's expression was quite awkward. His current appearance had changed, and it was just his ordinary appearance from before. Hearing Gu Qingyue's words, Zhao Fu also refused directly. Gu Qingyue didn't say anything else and directly left the palace. Li Si said worriedly, "Your Majesty." At this time, all the kingdoms have joined in, trying to subdue Qin. Now that His Majesty has rejected all of them, will they do something bad to Qin? They are the forces of the Inner Area Kingdom and are very powerful. If they join in, Qin's situation will become more dangerous. Zhao Fu also nodded solemnly. This was also something he had been worried about. Chapter 1821. Li Baiqing and Yao Ming knew that the large factions from the inner regions were heading to Qin City. They knew that the large factions wanted to use this opportunity to subdue Qin City, a faction with limitless potential. However, they were not worried. After all, if Qin City submitted so easily, it would not be Qin City. They had fought with Qin City for many years and naturally understood Qin City's personality. In actuality, if an inner region royal kingdom's faction interfered, they could indeed save Qin City. After all, they would not oppose the inner region royal kingdoms, as they did not have the strength to do so yet. Moreover, if an inner region royal kingdom joined in, the Second Wind God faction and the Alliance faction would not participate, and Qin City would be safe. However, Qin City had rejected the various factions. Even though he was quite courageous, this gave them a chance to destroy Qin City. They could not hesitate anymore and immediately gathered their forces to attack Qin City. They could not allow anything unexpected to happen. They did not plan to attack Qin City from two sides, as they did not have the ability to dispel the cursed region that Qin had set up in the north. As such, they could only gather in the west and attack Qin City together. The Devil Horn Empire did not send out so many soldiers because they had to head to other places and not attack Qin City from their borders. If they sent out too many soldiers and gave the Alliance faction or Second Wind God faction an opportunity, they might be able to heavily wound the Devil Horn Empire. The Devil Horn Empire did not feel at ease with them, so they only sent out 20 billion soldiers and left 200 million soldiers to defend the Devil Horn Empire. Now that they had gathered together, their attacks would be even more powerful. They might be able to break through Qin City's defenses in one fell swoop and slaughter their way into Qin City. They would slaughter Qin City's residents and take Zhao Fu's head as a sacrifice to the heavens. The Flame Army and Devil Horn Army gathered together, forming a massive army that gave off a heaven-shaking killing aura as they charged towards Qin City unstoppably. By now, the Alliance faction and Second Wind God faction had also received this news. They stopped what they were doing and gathered their forces, waiting to see how things would develop. Jian Yin and the others also received this news. They stayed nearby and did not return to their kingdoms. Their mission was to subdue Qin City, so how could they return so easily? Even if he did that, he would definitely be ridiculed when he returned, and the elders of his clan would also look down on him, thinking that he had no ability to resolve this matter. Now, they were waiting for Great Qin to be unable to hold on and for Great Qin to run to them and beg them. They were humiliating each other because Qin asked for it. He deserved it. His Majesty Qin had treated them badly. If he had surrendered to them earlier, he wouldn't have ended up like this. At this time, they had smiles on their faces as they thought about how to humiliate the high and mighty Emperor Qin. Zhao Fu had immediately received news that the Devil Horn Empire and Fire Kingdom had allied together to attack, and he had been on guard against this. Facing 6 billion Stage 2 soldiers, 20 billion Devil Horn soldiers, and countless devil beasts and flame beasts, the pressure they faced was immense. It seemed that no one in the outer domains could stop them, but Zhao Fu did not feel any fear. He quickly led his men to the western battlefield. Before the Devil Horn Empire and Fire Kingdom's army arrived, their massive aura caused the weather to change. Countless birds were startled and countless beasts ran, and a terrifying aura flooded out. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he stood on the city walls. Behind him, there were countless people dressed in green. These people's auras were not very powerful, but they were quite strange and could cause people's hairs to stand on end. They were curse masters nurtured by Great Qin, and they were people who specialized in casting curses. After all, casting such a large-scale curse required specialized people to cast it, or else they might suffer a backlash. Zhao Fu looked ahead with a profound gaze and said, "Begin." As he gave the order, the curse masters took out insect eggs and orderly placed them around them, forming a circle. There were roughly 30 insect eggs around each curse master, and the curse masters lined up in an orderly row that stretched as far as the eye could see. Qin had collected many insect eggs over the past few days in preparation for this day. Zhao Fu understood that Qin needed time to develop, so he did not want to fight with them and chose to defend. The curse masters sat cross-legged on the ground and put their palms together as they closed their eyes. A green magic formation appeared below them, giving off waves of green light. This green light entered the insect eggs, causing them to also give off green light. Within the insect eggs, there were many insects moving about, creating a terrifying scene. Boom, 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 their bodies also silently ignited with green aura. One after another formless power spread out from the spell master's body. Those insect eggs emitted one after another green aura. One after another insect's illusory image emerged from the eggs. There were praying mantises, ants, butterflies, mosquitoes, beetles and moths, and they densely floated in the air. At that moment, the Devil Horn Empire and Fire Kingdom's army gave off heaven-toppling auras as they appeared in front of Qin. Li Baiqing and the Devil Horn Empire did not waste any time and directly attacked. Roar, roar, roar. Massive devil beasts giving off terrifying auras gave off roars that shook the surroundings before ferociously charging at Qin. Kill! Countless Fire Kingdoms and Devil Horn Empire's soldiers gave off powerful auras as they roared and flooded towards Qin, giving off shocking sounds. Zhao Fu stood in front of the defensive walls with his hands behind his back. Facing the millions of soldiers, he did not change at all. At that moment, the curse masters behind the defensive walls opened their eyes and stretched out their hands and pushed forwards. Countless insect eggs exploded and liquid splattered everywhere, but in the next moment they fused into the ground. Countless images of insects floated in the air and flooded forwards, passing through the defensive walls and rushing towards Qin. countless soldiers attacked, sending out cold lights towards the images of insects, and some formed defensive barriers to defend. Arg, pained cries continuously sounded out as the images of insects passed through the sharp lights and defensive barriers, leaping onto the soldiers' bodies and tearing at them. There was no blood, but countless wounds appeared on the soldiers' bodies. Boom! Another massive explosion sounded out as countless traces of green aura rose up from the ground, and even more formless insects rushed out from the ground. Seeing this scene, Li Baiqing and the Devil Horn Empire naturally understood what was going on, and their expressions were cold as they gave the order to retreat. Chapter 1822. Zhao Fu's expression did not change at all as he looked at the retreating army. He had already expected this, and Qin had left some insect eggs to deal with the two armies. Zhao Fu did not need to manage things here, and Zhao Fu asked his subordinate to be on guard and strengthen the curse's power. When the surrounding factions heard about this, they felt quite surprised. They had never thought that the two ferocious armies would be stopped so easily by Qin. This Qin was quite powerful. Some people had looked down on Qin's cursed land, but after personally experiencing the terrifying curse power, they had nothing to say. Sword Cry and the others were quite disappointed. They had been waiting for Qin to be defeated and then beg them for help. Now their plan had failed, but they did not leave. They planned to continue to put pressure on Qin and force him to submit to them. At the same time, they became more interested in Qin, and they felt that Qin was not simple at all. He had great potential, and if they could subdue such a faction, it would be of great help to them in the future. Zhao Fu did not have the time to care about these people. After returning to Qin City, he focused on politics. The new year had just passed, and the people were all smiling and energetic. They worked hard on everything, and Qin City was in a good mood. Seeing this, Zhao Fu was quite satisfied. However, soon, Zhao Fu received news that the alchemist army had once again attacked Qin City. After hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite angry. This was the fourth time that they had attacked Qin City, and Zhao Fu felt that they should teach them a heavy lesson so that they would remember that Qin City was not to be trifled with. Zhao Fu took his people and the war beasts to the city walls. Bai Qi reported earnestly, "Your Majesty, there are about 2 billion alchemist soldiers this time. This time, there are about 2 billion alchemy soldiers, 800 million more than the last time, and the number of war sacred beasts has also reached 7,000. Zhao Fu nodded solemnly. He was not afraid at all because this time, Qin would continue to show a lot of skills, and the purpose was to severely injure Qin the alchemist. Now, Zhao Fu did not have much fear. Rumble! Another massive sound rang out as 2 billion soldiers flooded out, giving off terrifying auras. They were so densely packed that it was impossible to see how many of them there were. The massive war saint beasts also moved forwards, giving off shocking auras. This aura was incredibly terrifying, and it flooded towards Great Qin's side like a tsunami. All of Great Qin's soldiers looked incredibly serious and did not dare to be careless. They all knew how terrifying the alchemist army was. The alchemy army soon arrived in front of Zhao Fu. They were led by 2 people. One was ice and the other was fire. Last time, Zhao Fu had killed ice with a single strike, but he had not been able to destroy his Philosopher's Stone in time. It was said that the Philosopher's Stone contained a soul within the alchemist's body, and if it was given some flesh and blood power, it could be revived. Ice had used the Philosopher's Stone to revive again, but this time, his strength had fallen greatly and he did not have as much power as before. "We meet again." Ice's expression was cold, and he gave off an intense killing intent as he spoke to Zhao Fu on the city walls. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "You're a bit fast and you still dare to attack Qin? You still dare to attack Great Qin? Aren't you afraid of dying here again? This time, you won't be as lucky as last time." Ice said angrily, "Today, I'm going to slaughter all of Qin's people and not leave a single one alive." Otherwise, I won't be able to appease the hatred in my heart. Zhao Fu said provocatively, Is that so? If you have the ability, then come and try. Ice did not continue speaking. He looked at Fire Ghost beside him, and immediately gave the order to attack. Countless war saint beasts and massive cannons pointed towards Qin's city walls. The cannons lit up and a terrifying and dangerous aura spread out. Boom! 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 Rays of light containing terrifying power shot out, giving off massive sounds as if they could pierce through the sky. They were incredibly fast and shot towards Great Qin's defensive walls like bolts of lightning. Boom! On Qin's side, a powerful aura exploded out as countless traces of black light once again appeared, forming a massive defensive barrier that gave off a firm aura. Bang! 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 The beams of light containing terrifying power smashed against the massive defensive barrier, resulting in massive sounds. Gales spread out, and the defensive barrier gave off a powerful aura as it blocked the countless beams of light. However, the countless powerful beams of light still contained immense power as they destroyed the defensive barrier, causing it to shatter. Zhao Fu inwardly sighed. The reinforced defensive barrier was unable to withstand a round of attacks from countless war saint beasts. Kill! The countless alchemist soldiers gave off massive auras as they rushed at Qin's city walls, seeming unstoppable like a flood. The alchemist soldiers were the first to attack, and sharp lights slashed towards the ground, causing the ground to continuously collapse. The alchemist soldiers quickly discovered the deep trenches hidden beneath the ground, and they continued to attack the ground, causing it to collapse and fill in the trenches. The alchemist army had suffered here before, and they would not fall for this again. Behind the alchemist army, ladder builders appeared. They squatted on the ground and pressed a hand against the ground, causing a massive wave of alchemist energy to spread out. An alchemist magic formation appeared, and alchemist energy continuously gathered. Metal stairs quickly stretched out from the ground, giving off powerful auras as they stretched towards Qin's city walls. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive chaotic aura of destruction spread out. A massive black magic formation appeared on the ground of Qin's city walls, and a chaos world's power spread out. The metal stairs quickly disintegrated and turned into powder. The alchemist soldiers felt quite uncomfortable, and they circulated their power to defend. Boom! A rumble echoed on the alchemist army's side, and a huge alchemist magic formation appeared. A huge amount of alchemist energy gathered in the surroundings, and an invisible power spread out. The metal stairs immediately stopped disintegrating, and the alchemist soldiers also felt uncomfortable. The huge magic formation eliminated the influence of the Chaos World's magic formation. This time, the alchemist army was not attacking blindly. They had come prepared. Swish, swish, swish. The alchemy soldiers at the front held a metal spear in their hands and used the momentum of their charge to throw it out. The metal spears shot into the void, and one alchemist magic formation after another appeared. Alchemist energy gathered in the surroundings, and the alchemist formations emitted light. Chapter 1823. Qin's shield-bearers went up and formed a shield wall. A wave of power exploded out as the shield wall gave off boundless black light, forming a black barrier of light that blocked the incoming spears. By now, the countless alchemist soldiers had rushed up the metal stairs and gave off powerful auras as they rushed towards Qin's city walls. At the same time, the Saint War Beasts once again aimed their cannons at Qin's city walls. Boom! 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 Powerful rays of light containing destructive power shot towards the great Qin town's defensive walls. Facing the attack of 7,000 Saint War Beasts, just the tens of thousands of holy light emissaries and the shield wall of Qin's soldiers would find it very difficult to defend. However, Qin had long since expected this. Boom! An explosion sounded out as a massive aura spread out, and a massive black defensive barrier giving off a powerful aura appeared. Bang! 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 Terrifying beams of light containing shocking power slammed against the defensive barrier, and the second defensive barrier that Qin had prepared was shattered by the countless beams of light. Because of time constraints, the second defensive barrier was not as strong as the first one. Many beams of light shattered the defensive barrier and continued towards Qin's soldiers on the city walls, causing explosions to sound out. Some of the soldiers' shields were able to block the beams of light, while others were blasted away. However, because the beams of light were weakened by the defensive barrier, there were not many casualties. The leader of the alchemist army gave a trace of a smile. This attack had been quite successful, and they had been able to counter all of Qin's methods. Bang! 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 100-meter-tall holy light emissaries giving off intense holy light auras appeared. They raised their hands towards the countless metal stairs, and powerful beams of light containing terrifying power shot out, hitting the metal stairs and causing explosions. The metal stairs were shattered, and the countless alchemist soldiers on them fell from the sky and crashed to the ground. Swish! 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 The sound of the air being torn could be heard, as Qin's side shot out arrows that contained immense power towards the alchemist soldiers. They formed a massive arrow aura that covered the countless alchemist soldiers. Chi! 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 Arrows rained down, piercing through the bodies of the soldiers. Blood splattered everywhere, and screams rang out. It was unknown just how many soldiers had died. But in the next moment, the alchemy soldiers took out fist-sized metal balls and threw them at Qin's city wall. After these metal orbs were thrown out, they gave off intense light and a dangerous aura as they flew towards Qin city's walls. Bang, bang, bang! Explosions sounded out as the metal balls flew onto the city walls and caused massive explosions. The massive explosions sent many soldiers flying, and some were even blasted apart. Blood and flesh flew everywhere as screams continuously sounded out. Xiao, xiao, xiao! The alchemist soldiers seized this opportunity and shot out arrows that contained immense power towards the defensive walls. Qin's side also hurried to resist. Block with a shield or block with a weapon. At this time, the metal stairs were built again. The alchemy soldiers rushed up the stairs and attacked Qin. There were also alchemy soldiers on the ground who did not rush up the metal stairs and instead rushed towards Qin. They quickly came to Qin's city wall and took out metal ladders, flying locks, and all sorts of other methods to scale the city wall. Qin's side did its best to counterattack, shooting out arrows that continuously sent out sharp lights towards the alchemy soldiers. The alchemy soldiers also shot out arrows that sent out sharp lights towards Qin's city wall. The battle was quite intense, and blood flew everywhere as screams continuously sounded out. There were alchemy soldiers who fell from the sky after being hit by arrows, Qin's soldiers who were sent flying by sharp lights, and Qin's soldiers who were climbing up the city wall were smashed down by heavy objects. Boom! 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 The war god beast's cannons once again shot out countless terrifying beams of light towards Qin's city wall, causing explosions to sound out. The holy light emissaries on Qin's side quickly exploded out with powerful power and unleashed powerful protective barriers. Qin's soldiers quickly raised their shields and sent power into them, forming a barrier of light. Bang! 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 However, the beams of light were too terrifying, and they contained shocking power as they pierced through the defensive barriers and the black barrier of light before slamming into Qin's city wall, resulting in a series of explosions. These explosions killed many of Qin's soldiers, and blood and flesh flew everywhere, dyeing the city wall blood-red. Roar! 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 Massive roars sounded out as ferocious war god beasts gave off terrifying auras as they quickly rushed to the city wall and ferociously attacked it. Some of Qin's soldiers were cut in half by the massive claws, sent flying by the claws, and turned into charcoal by the war god beasts' beams of light. Roar! 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 Countless dragon roars sounded out on Qin's side as countless fire and ice wyverns once again flew out and attacked the ferocious war god beasts, and the battle between the two sides once again began. At that moment, Qin's soldiers once again pushed out 300-meter-long dragon-slaying ballistae. There were tens of thousands of them, and there were arrows as thick as arms on them, giving off an incredibly dangerous aura. Boom, boom, boom. The arrows gave off all sorts of lights and gave off terrifying power as they drew rainbow-colored rays of light behind them. They seemed to be able to pierce through everything as they shot towards the war god beasts, giving off terrifying sounds. Last time, the alchemist's soldiers had seen how powerful those arrows were. They had caused great damage to the war saint beasts, causing countless people's hearts to ache. Now, facing such arrows again, the alchemist's soldiers hurriedly defended. Not only that, but the war-sacred beasts burst forth with powerful auras, forming many sturdy defensive barriers around them. The magic formations on the ground were quickly activated, and massive amounts of golem power gathered, forming metal shields that blocked in front of the countless war god beasts. The golem soldiers did not want to lose so many war god beasts this time. Bang! 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 Massive sounds rang out as the arrows gave off terrifying power and pierced through the metal shields, causing countless sparks to explode out. They landed on the defensive barriers, causing them to tremble, and the massive arrows turned into dust and dissipated. The golem soldiers felt quite startled. Even though these arrows were powerful, they were not as powerful as last time. These were indeed not arrows that Qin had socketed with disaster pearls. After all, Qin's relationship with the four major factions was not very good, so they could not obtain many disaster pearls. As such, it was impossible for there to be so many disaster pearls socketed in arrows. Chapter 1824. Roar, roar, roar. Just as the alchemist army dispersed their defensive barriers, before they could react, massive dragon roars sounded out throughout the sky. Massive mechanical wyverns appeared in the sky, flapping their massive mechanical wings and sending out wild gales. At that moment, the leaders of the alchemist army were all dumbfounded as they looked at the mechanical wyverns in the sky. How come Qin also has saint war beasts? Moreover, there are 4,000 of them, while the major factions only have 7,000 of them. Seeing Qin release so many mechanical wyverns, the alchemist army immediately felt that the situation was bad and hurriedly gave the order to construct defenses, but it was too late. Boom, 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 the mechanical wyverns opened their mouths and shot out terrifying beams of light that contained destructive power towards the saint war beasts, illuminating the entire sky and making people feel incredibly terrified. Bang, 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 the massive beams of light slammed into the saint war beasts' bodies. Even though the saint war beasts had explosive power and released defensive barriers, they were instantly pierced through by the beams of light, causing massive explosions to sound out. Some of the countless saint war beasts' bodies had large holes pierced through them, while others directly exploded. In total, they had lost 1,600 or so saint war beasts. The leaders of the alchemist army felt incredibly pained. Those were saint war beasts that they had nurtured for countless years, and yet 1,600 of them had been destroyed in an instant. They furiously ordered the saint war beasts to counterattack, and massive cannons aimed at the mechanical wyverns in the sky. Boom, 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 powerful beams of light containing terrifying power shot towards the mechanical wyvern in the sky at high speed. The wyvern also released a defensive barrier that enveloped its body as it dodged the incoming attack. The beams of light struck the defensive barrier, causing some cracks to appear on it. However, because it was able to dodge quite a few of the attacks, it didn't cause much damage to it. Roar, roar, roar. The countless mechanical wyverns furiously roared as they once again shot out massive beams of light that contained terrifying power and shocking auras towards the saint war beasts on the ground. The saint war beasts on the ground immediately released powerful defensive barriers and dodged to the side, not gathering together. Bang, 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 some of the beams hit the ground, creating craters that were 10,000 meters wide. Some hit the saint war beast's defensive barrier, shattering it. However, because the defensive barrier was formed from all of its power, It was extremely tough. Although the light beam shattered the defensive barrier, it only caused a bit of damage to the holy beast. It was not as terrifying as last time. However, some of the weaker war saint beasts were also destroyed. Boom, boom, boom. The alchemist soldiers on the ground also looked furious, and they controlled their war beasts to fire their cannons at the mechanical wyverns. The densely packed beams of light shot down some of the mechanical wyverns. The battle was also extremely intense. Explosions continuously sounded out, and strong winds blew, causing sand and stones to fly everywhere. The leaders of the alchemists had serious expressions. They felt as if they weren't fighting the human world, but a powerful alchemist family. They didn't know how Qin had gotten so many war saint beasts, which were extremely terrifying and agile. No one was controlling them. They didn't know that they weren't war saint beasts, but they looked like war saint beasts. His expression was icy as he said, "Use the ice refining eyes." The three people giving off powerful icy auras took out fist-sized mechanical eyeballs and cut their palms, allowing blood to flow out. The mechanical eyeballs continuously absorbed the blood and gave off an intense icy light. The three mechanical eyeballs started to rise into the sky, and a large amount of alchemy power flowed into them. The metallic eyeballs absorbed a large amount of alchemy power, and their bodies continuously grew until they were 10,000 meters wide. The eyeballs were an icy color, and their pupils were silver. There were circles of runes around the eyeballs, and they gave off a terrifying icy aura. The surrounding temperature quickly fell, and ice clouds started to form in the sky. The three people raised their hands, and a powerful wave of power gathered in their palms. Their palms gave off an icy light, and the massive eyeballs in the sky exploded out with an icy aura. The eyeballs seemed to have their own consciousness, and they looked towards Qin City's city walls. Boom, boom, boom. Countless traces of alchemy power continuously flowed into the eyeballs, causing them to give off an intense icy light. Circles of runes started to spin, and an icy aura spread out. The eyeballs gave off boundless icy light as they stared at Qin City's city walls. The temperature suddenly fell, and a thick layer of ice started to form around Qin City's city walls. Qin's soldiers on the walls were also frozen. Zhao Fu's eyes slightly narrowed and gave off an icy intent as he looked at the icy eyeballs. A savage smile appeared on Zhao Fu's face. Now, not only were the leaders standing on the 10,000-meter-long saint beasts, but there were also two 10,000-meter-long saint war beasts protecting them. It would not be like last time, where not only had the ice-refining eyes been destroyed, but he had also been killed by Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu ordered people to bring out three 1,000-meter-long dragon-slaying ballistae. Because they were too big, they did not place them on the city walls and instead placed them on the ground behind the city walls. Hundreds of 100-meter-tall corpse soul guards pulled their bowstrings with great difficulty and placed a 1,000-meter-long arrow on it. These 1,000-meter-long arrows were densely covered in runes and veined patterns. There were also disaster pearls and legendary grade talisman stones embedded within them. After seeing how terrifying the ice-refining eyes had been, Zhao Fu could not be on guard against Zhao Fu's next use. Those three ice-refining eyes had already frozen a large portion of the city walls and countless soldiers. Boom, boom, boom. Three massive explosions sounded out as the three massive arrows shot out. A massive energy exploded out, causing spatial ripples to tear apart. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. The runes on the three arrows lit up, and the disaster pearls and talisman stones gave off intense light as an annihilating power spread out. The three arrows gave off colorful lights and turned into three rays of light that shot out towards the three ice-refining eyes. They seemed to be able to pierce through heaven and earth, bringing with them an intense gale. The three people controlling the ice-refining eyes exploded out with their full power. Their bodies ignited with icy flames, and the three ice-refining eyes gave off a powerful attractive force that poured in the surrounding alchemy power. The runes on the ice-refining eyes quickly revolved, and the ice-refining eyes gave off intense icy light. Their gazes gave off a cold intent that seemed to be able to destroy everything. Chapter 1825. Boom, boom, boom. 3 shocking explosions sounded out as the 3 arrows brought with them rainbow-colored rays of light as they shot into the frozen world. The terrifying power instantly tore the frozen world to shreds, and they shot towards the 3 10,000-meter-wide eyes of ice. Bang, bang, bang. 3 massive explosions sounded out as the 3 10,000-meter-wide eyes of ice exploded, causing countless ice crystals to shoot out. Countless traces of icy chi ferociously spread out in all directions, sending out massive gusts of icy wind. The soldiers standing on the war saint beasts hurriedly activated their defensive barriers to block the icy chi and ice crystals. However, some of the metal refiner soldiers in the surroundings were affected. The icy chi spread out and froze everything, and those soldiers were frozen to death. Bing Han looked furious as he gave the order to attack. Swish, swish, swish. At that moment, the metal refiner soldiers once again shot out metal spears, which contained immense power as they shot into the air. Formation after formation appeared, and metal energy continuously flowed in from the surroundings, causing the formation to give off intense light. Swish, 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 swish. Arrows containing terrifying force shot towards Great Qin's soldiers, forming a black mass that was simply uncountable. It was incredibly terrifying. The Qin soldiers hurriedly raised their shields to block the spears. The metal refiner soldiers took this opportunity to attack the Qin city walls, and both sides started to fight at close range. The battle was incredibly intense, and sounds continuously sounded out as blood flew everywhere. A metal refiner soldier rushed up the city walls and used a mechanical arm to smash the head of a Qin soldier. Another metal refiner soldier vigorously stabbed out with a spear, piercing through a Qin soldier's body. Another metal refiner soldier held a large sword and split a Qin soldier in half. A Qin soldier vigorously swung his hammer, sending another metal refiner soldier flying. A Qin soldier vigorously chopped down with a massive axe, splitting a metal refiner soldier's body in half. A Qin soldier held a saber, sending out a saber light as he chopped off a metal refiner soldier's head. The battle was slightly more advantageous for Qin because there were 6 billion stage 2 soldiers on Qin city walls. Some ice fire wyverns were also helping, spewing out icy blasts and flames, sealing countless metal refiner soldiers in ice. Bang bang bang, a few 100-meter void beasts appeared in the army and attacked the soldiers. With a swipe of their claws, countless soldiers were sent flying, and their huge bodies smashed into the soldiers. However, the void beast had only attacked a few times before countless attacks landed on it, forcing it to hide in the void again. They wanted to dodge and continue attacking the alchemy soldiers, but as soon as they appeared, they were injured by the many attacks. The alchemy soldiers were constantly on guard against them. At that moment, Moji and Moluf wanted to sneak over and assassinate the leaders. However, before they could get close, the 3 10,000-meter-long war saint beasts sensed them and shot out terrifying beams of light, making it so that the two of them could not get close at all. Naturally, the assassination attempt failed. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, 2 shocking explosions sounded out as a terrifying destructive power spread out, destroying everything. The ground continuously trembled as a shock wave spread out, causing sand and rocks to fly everywhere. 2 1-million-meter-wide holes appeared in front of everyone's eyes, and they were surrounded by rubble. The city walls had also collapsed, and there were all sorts of broken corpses, including the corpses of Qin's soldiers and alchemy soldiers. Flame Ghost could not help but loudly laugh. This time, he did not personally release the destruction orb and instead sent 2 alchemy experts to hide within the army to find a suitable opportunity to use it. Now, those two people found an opportunity and threw the destruction orb to a place with fewer alchemy soldiers, causing two sides of Qin's city walls to collapse. Zhao Fu was expressionless as he gave the order for everyone to retreat. After receiving Zhao Fu's order, Qin's soldiers quickly retreated. The ice-fire wyverns, which had been fighting with the rapidly typed war saint beasts, flew into the sky, leaving the battle. On the other side, the mechanical wyverns stopped attacking and flew towards Qin's soldiers. The alchemy leaders had never thought that Qin's soldiers would directly retreat without even trying to resist. However, now that two sides of the city walls had been destroyed, even if Qin's soldiers wanted to stop them, they would not be able to do so. This time they had won. Everyone looked delighted. They had stopped the army from attacking Qin 4 times, and now they were finally going to destroy Qin. This was not simple at all, and everyone could not help but feel happy and excited. Ice Han also smiled and yelled, "Slaughter all of Qin's soldiers, don't leave a single one alive. Kill." The alchemy soldiers looked incredibly excited. They were finally going to destroy this heaven-awakened world faction. They roared, and their auras became even more ferocious as they charged at Qin's soldiers. No one could stop their slaughter. Ice Han and Flame Ghost both stared at Zhao Fu and aimed their 3 cannons at Zhao Fu. They had already said that they would kill Zhao Fu and continuously torture him. They could not let him escape. "You won't be able to escape now. I'll listen to your screams, and I'll let you understand the consequences of being my enemy." Ice Han gave a cruel smile as he looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not look afraid or nervous, and he coldly laughed as he said, "Is that so?" Ice Han and Flame Devil sensed that something was off because Zhao Fu did not seem afraid at all despite them breaking through Great Qin's defenses. Something was definitely off, and when they thought of that, their hearts tightened. Boom! Boom! Waves of aura spread out as magic formations suddenly appeared from the ground, covering the ground. Before the alchemy soldiers could react, their bodies were dragged away by a wave of energy and disappeared. "Hurry and retreat!" Ice Han hurriedly yelled. The alchemy soldiers felt that something was off, and they quickly stopped attacking Qin's soldiers and retreated. However, it was too late. The alchemy soldiers had lost more than half of their numbers, and their ferocious aura had completely disappeared. The magic formations on the ground were, of course, forced transmission formations. Zhao Fu had not lied when he said that he would teach the alchemy army a lesson. Ice Han and the alchemy leaders' faces darkened. Originally, they had 2 billion soldiers, and about 200 million of them had died. Now, there were only about 500 million soldiers left, which meant that 3 billion soldiers had disappeared. This was really a heavy blow, and it had directly caused them to lose so much combat power. This Qin was too terrifying. How could they fight with 500 million soldiers? The leaders did not hesitate and ordered a full retreat, or they would not be able to escape later. Zhao Fu saw that the alchemy army had retreated. After such a heavy blow, he estimated that they would not dare to attack Qin's soldiers for a while. He ordered people to chase after them, but not to go too deep. At the same time, he ordered people to repair the 2 collapsed walls as soon as possible. Chapter 1826. There were massive magic formations here that gave off all sorts of lights and gave off imprisoning power. There were alchemist soldiers within, and they were bound by the imprisoning power, unable to move. There were not many people in each magic formation, only a few thousand. Some of the alchemist soldiers wanted to break free but were unable to do so at all. After so many battles, Qin had lost many Stage 2 soldiers. If this went on, there would be fewer and fewer Stage 2 soldiers, which was not good. The alchemist soldiers who had been forcefully teleported over had been teleported here. With so many alchemist soldiers, they would be of great help to Qin, so Zhao Fu did not kill them. Zhao Fu had already thought of how to deal with these people, which was to wait for the evil flower seeds to be developed before controlling them. Zhao Fu had come here mainly to see if anything unexpected had happened. Since nothing had happened, Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and left. After returning to Qin, there were no political matters to take care of. Moreover, before the Fire Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire found a way to break the curse, they most likely would not attack Qin. The northern and western sides had cursed areas, and the eastern side was where the Second Wind God Empire was. Zhao Fu had to keep an eye on it and set down a cursed area as well. That way, all three sides that could attack Great Qin would be sealed off. Zhao Fu felt that the Wind God Empire was quite powerful. The alchemist world had been heavily wounded, and it would be difficult for them to attack Qin in a short period of time. At that moment, Zhao Fu thought of something that he had not done yet, which was sword obsession. In actuality, a long time ago, the Emperor Killing Sword had satisfied the requirements to level up. It required 100,000 swordsmen with decent talent, but there had been some things that had delayed it until now. After such a long time, the Emperor Killing Sword world did not rely on the killing chi from the 100,000 swordsmen and instead relied on the killing chi from the 10,000 or so people in sword obsession to level up. Now, they no longer needed 100,000 swordsmen but 1 million. More accurately speaking, they needed 1 million swordsmen. With so many swordsmen, they could not make the requirements too high. After all, finding 1 million swordsmen with high talent would take a lot of time. This time, they only needed a swordsman with slightly better aptitude and strength. As for their target, it was naturally the ancient sword sect. The ancient STEM domain's most talented swordsmen were gathered there, and they were not weak. Now that the Dao cultivation sect had closed its doors, the ancient sword sect was incredibly powerful and had almost become the #1 faction in the ancient STEM domain. Zhao Fu had seen the ancient sword sect's disciple Jian Yin before, and he was incredibly cold and arrogant, not putting him in his eyes at all. There was indeed a gap. Qin's current strength didn't even have many Stage 2 soldiers, and there was no way to quickly make up for the deaths of Stage 1 soldiers. If Qin had the ability to mass-produce the Philosopher's Stone, Qin would have countless Stage 1 soldiers. However, Qin did not have the ability to mass-produce the Philosopher's Stone. The ancient sword sect was much more powerful than Qin, and if it attacked, Qin would not be able to defend. Qin already had many enemies, and if the ancient sword sect joined in, he would definitely die. This was why Jian Yin was so cold and arrogant and did not put Qin in his eyes at all. This time, Zhao Fu decided to collect interest from the ancient sword sect and suppress the ancient sword sect's morale. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu immediately started to move. This time, Zhao Fu did not bring the ancient sword sect's Madame Ling Feishu and Lin Yener, and he went to the ancient sword sect by himself. He first gathered information about the ancient sword sect and thought about the changes in the ancient sword sect over the past few years before making a plan. By now, the ancient sword sect's development was quite shocking. It now had 14 worlds, and it was much more powerful. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. After leveling up to a royal kingdom, there was a limit to what worlds they could devour, and they could not expand as they pleased. As such, many royal kingdoms could only have 10 worlds. Now that the ancient sword sect could devour other worlds, it seemed that the Heaven Awakened world had loosened the restrictions on royal kingdoms to increase their strength. Zhao Fu guessed that this was most likely to be to deal with other worlds. After all, in the outer world, royal kingdoms were the main force, and even though there were many dukedom kingdoms, they were too weak and could not compare to royal kingdoms. Right now, the ancient sword sect had a lot of soldiers, and some of the sect's soldiers weren't made up of disciples. This was because swordsmen could form an army but could not form a comprehensive force. There were shield-bearers, archers, cavalry, spearmen, and other types of soldiers to deal with all sorts of situations on the battlefield. Furthermore, it was not suitable for swordsmen to take care of everything else, such as defending and attacking. Apart from disciples, the ancient sword sect also had a large number of soldiers. These soldiers also cultivated the ancient sword sex arts and had sword energy within their bodies. However, this was not Zhao Fu's target, as the ancient sword sex demonic energy would be too weak. As such, Zhao Fu's target was the ancient sword sex disciples. Not only did they have excellent talent, but their sword energy was also not weak. Now, the key thing was how to capture the 1,000,000 ancient sword sect disciples. This was the ancient sword sect's territory, so Zhao Fu did not dare to do anything rashly. Even though his nation armament had 9 worlds, if he was surrounded by an army, he would not be able to escape. Zhao Fu continued to ask around, but nothing had happened in the ancient sword sect recently, making it impossible for Zhao Fu to find an opportunity. If he tried to sneak into the ancient sword sect, it would be quite dangerous. Zhao Fu had already done this twice, and had become a humiliation to the ancient sword sect. The ancient sword sect's defenses were quite tight, and if he tried to sneak in, he would be discovered very quickly. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to control the elders and secretly gather some disciples into the emperor-killing sword world, which would be quite easy to complete. At a time like this, he had to be careful and control as many elders as possible and gather disciples in different places. If he gathered too many disciples, he would be discovered. If he spread them out, it would be quite normal. With the ancient sword sect's 13 worlds' strength and population of more than 500 billion, 1,000,000 disciples was a very small number to them. A while later, Zhao Fu received news that there were 10 or so elders who often came out to play. This meant that Zhao Fu did not need to sneak into the ancient sword sect and could directly capture them. Their positions in the ancient sword sect were not too high, but they were not too low either. They could gather some disciples without attracting too much attention. Chapter 1827. The peach trees here were in full bloom, forming a forest of flowers. The air was filled with a faint fragrance of flowers, and colorful butterflies danced in the air. The grass on the ground was green, the sky was blue, and the sun was bright and beautiful. It was a beautiful scene of spring. 7 women and 4 men arrived with smiles on their faces. Of the 4 men, 1 was dressed in green and had a scholarly temperament, 1 had a heroic face, 1 had a handsome face, and 1 had a charming appearance. Of the 7 women, 1 had a charming temperament, 1 had a mature figure, 1 looked lively, 1 looked gentle and quiet, 1 had a hot figure, 1 looked dignified, and 1 had a pure face. "Senior brother, look, it's so beautiful here." The lively woman smiled happily and pulled the handsome man's arm. The handsome man nodded with a smile. A voluptuous woman looked quite jealous as she hugged the handsome-looking man's arm and coquettishly smiled as she said, "Senior apprentice brother, who do you think is more beautiful, Hua Lin or me?" The handsome-looking man turned to look at the woman and smiled as he said, "Of course junior sister is the most beautiful. Senior brother Zhang. I'm really lucky to have 2 beautiful junior sisters like me," the handsome youth said with a smile. The handsome-looking man lightly smiled as he replied, "Don't you have a senior sister? The 2 of you are so sweet that it is enviable. I wonder when I will be able to drink your wedding wine." The flirtatious woman in the handsome man's embrace lightly laughed and said, "It should be soon. Our families have agreed to marry us." The handsome-looking man was a bit surprised and said with a smile, "So fast? When the time comes, I will definitely send a big gift to celebrate." It was a scholarly man and a dignified woman. The 2 of them walked side by side at the back. The scholarly man smiled warmly and asked, "How have you been recently? Is there anything bothering you?" The dignified-looking woman said with a smile, "As usual, there's nothing to worry about. It's just some small things. What about you? I heard that you've comprehended the book Sword Intent. Congratulations." The scholarly man chuckled. "Do you know about this? Actually, it's nothing much. I've only grasped the basics." A mature and quiet woman and a handsome man walked to the side. The mature woman smiled and teased, "You're all in pairs." "That's right, how enviable. It's just that junior sister junior brother Nan, and I haven't found anyone we like. It seems that in the future we won't be traveling with you." Hearing this, the scholarly man and the others felt slightly embarrassed. The handsome-looking man chuckled and said, "Actually, junior sister and junior brother Nan are quite suitable. They can be a pair. As for senior sister, I don't know what to do with her." The mature woman angrily glared at the handsome man. "You are a senior sister, you are so beautiful, with so many men pursuing you, I can't handle it." "I'm interested in you." Suddenly, a voice rang out. Everyone was startled and looked in the direction of the voice. A cloaked figure walked out from the side, causing everyone to immediately become wary. This person gave off a baleful aura, and even though he seemed to be smiling, his gaze was icy cold. Because of his appearance, the surrounding atmosphere became much heavier. This person was incredibly dangerous. "May I know who you are?" The scholarly man was the first to step forward and speak with a serious expression. His cultivation level was the highest among the group. "Me? I'm an old acquaintance of your ancient sword sect, so you should know me," Zhao Fu said calmly as he gave a trace of a smile. Everyone looked quite confused because Zhao Fu was wearing a cloak, so they did not know who Zhao Fu was. The mature woman thought of something and her expression fell as she pointed at Zhao Fu and said, "You're that mysterious emperor?" Hearing this, everyone felt quite startled. Everyone in the ancient sword sect knew about that mysterious emperor. Not only was he incredibly powerful, but he had also humiliated the ancient sword sect greatly. The ancient sword sect had been constantly searching for him, but that mysterious emperor seemed to have disappeared, and they could not find any information about him. Now, after such a long time, that mysterious emperor had appeared before them. The scholarly man immediately said, "All of you, hurry and leave. Hurry and report to the sect. I'll stall him." Boom! A powerful aura exploded out of the scholarly man's body, bringing with it a gale as a green aura flame appeared around the scholarly man's body. Facing the mysterious emperor, who had once been the #1 genius of the ancient STEM domain, the scholarly man did not dare to be careless and directly exploded out with his full power. He drew the sword at his waist and sent a powerful wave of power into the sword, causing it to give off an intense sword light and a formless sword intent to spread out. Sheets of paper floated in the air and gave off a faint light, giving off the concept of books. A formless might spread out, causing the air to seem like it was going to freeze. The scholarly man vigorously swung the sword in his hand. Boom! The countless sheets of paper gave off immense power and a massive aura as they rushed towards Zhao Fu like a sea of books. In front of this power, everything seemed incredibly small and insignificant, and it was quite terrifying. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and the 6 paths of reincarnation's power gathered in his hand, causing his arm to turn into a pale ghostly claw. Bang! Facing the ocean of books, Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out with his ghostly claw, and 5 massive claw images containing power that seemed to be able to tear through everything tore apart the ocean of books. The scholarly-looking young man was sent flying, and 5 claw marks appeared on his chest, from which blood continuously flowed out. Things had developed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, before anyone could escape, the scholarly man had lost. "All of you, hurry and leave." The handsome-looking man was actually quite a good person, and he was still thinking about others. He exploded out with a powerful aura as he rushed at Zhao Fu. The handsome-looking man and the valiant-looking man also exploded out with powerful auras, telling the women to leave first. Even though the women looked quite reluctant, they still ran in other directions. Facing such a terrifying and mysterious emperor, all resistance was futile. Only by running and reporting to the sect, and having the sect's experts and army hurry over would they have a chance at survival. 3 men held swords and gave off powerful auras as they rushed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's expression gave off a trace of disdain as he stretched out his ghostly claw and vigorously pushed at the three men. Boom! A formless and terrifying power spread out incredibly quickly and slammed into the three men's bodies, causing them to fly backwards and cough up a large mouthful of blood. Who knew how many of their bones were broken, and they did not even have the strength to crawl back up. Shing, shing, shing. Chapter 1828. Zhao Fu waved his hand, and the chains pulled the women in front of Zhao Fu. The women fell to the ground and looked at Zhao Fu in fear. They didn't know what Zhao Fu would do to them, but the result would definitely be very miserable. This was because those who had fallen into Zhao Fu's hands in the past had either died or disappeared. The handsome-looking man looked furious as he yelled, "Let them go! If you dare to do anything to them, I won't let you off." Zhao Fu turned his head and looked at the handsome-looking man. A wave of ghostly chi flowed out as a powerful-looking devil ghost appeared beside the handsome-looking man. It stepped on the young man's body with one foot and grabbed his arm with the other, forcefully pulling. The handsome man let out a mournful scream as his arm was torn off bit by the evil spirit. Blood continuously gushed out. The pure girl's eyes were filled with tears as she begged, "Please let senior brother go. You can do anything to me." Zhao Fu ignored her. He stretched out his hand and chains shot out, dragging the four men in front of him. Seeing the heavily injured man and the terrified woman bound in chains, the mature woman's expression became quite unsightly. She thought for a moment before making a decision and saying, "Didn't you say you were interested in me? I can serve you, but you have to let them go." Everyone else looked quite surprised. They had never thought that the mature woman would offer to serve that mysterious emperor just for their safety. Their faces were filled with gratitude, as well as guilt for making a mature woman pay such a price. The dignified woman could not help but persuade with tears in her eyes, "Senior Marshal Sister, don't be like this." Matured looked straight at Zhao Fu and replied, "You don't have to try to persuade me. If I could trade my body for yours, it would be worth it." He then said to Zhao Fu, "What do you think? As long as you let them go, I will serve you well right now. I'm still a virgin, so you should be satisfied." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and came before the mature woman. He stretched out his hand, grabbed her head, and lifted her up. A trace of pain appeared on the mature woman's face, but she forced a smile and said, "I will make you feel comfortable and happy. We can start somewhere else now." Zhao Fu chuckled. "You're overestimating your charm. Although you're not bad-looking, it's just that you're my type. That's why I'm a little attractive, but that's all. Also, do I need your permission if I want your body?" The mature woman's heart sank and her face turned pale. At that moment, Zhao Fu's eyes turned pure black, and a pair of flower-like eyes appeared. Countless black auras surged out of Zhao Fu's eyes and entered the woman's eyes. The woman struggled a few times, but she soon stopped moving. He was like a puppet. "What did you do to our senior sister?" the woman with the fiery figure shouted angrily. Zhao Fu glanced at her and replied with a smile, "It'll be your turn soon." He ignored her and threw the mature woman to the ground. Zhao Fu grabbed the scholarly-looking young man's body, and countless traces of black aura flowed into his eyes, turning the young man into a puppet. Following this, Zhao Fu used the evil demon flower eyes to control them. There were 11 of them, and if each of them gathered 100,000 disciples, they would have 110,000 disciples, which would be enough to complete the quest. Some of them were injured, and in order to avoid being seen through, Zhao Fu helped them heal their injuries so that they looked as if they were back to normal. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and said, "You can go now." "Yes." The 11 people replied in unison. Now that they were under Zhao Fu's control, their expressions were not as wooden, and their movements were not like puppets. Zhao Fu went to a hidden place and waited. After the 11 people returned to the sect, they did not sense anything strange, and they used their authority to gather disciples. Last time, Zhao Fu had used the command medallion to draw out some genius disciples. If he used it again, it would be easy for the ancient sword kingdom to detect it. However, this time, Zhao Fu controlled the ancient sword sect's people to bring disciples over, making it difficult for them to detect it. Firstly, they did not know who would betray the ancient sword sect. Moreover, there were 1,000,000 disciples, which was quite small. The two cities only had 1,000,000 people, and the ancient sword sect now had 14 worlds. Elder, where are you taking us? Some of the people who had been ordered to gather followed behind the scholarly-looking man and asked in confusion. The scholarly-looking man warmly smiled as he said, "You'll know when you get there. It will be of great benefit to you." By now, it was not the scholarly-looking man who was speaking but Zhao Fu controlling the scholarly-looking man to speak. Hearing the scholarly-looking man's words, the disciples looked quite delighted. A while later, the scholarly-looking man led the disciples to an empty area. There were dense forests all around, making this place seem quite hidden. "Elder, is it here?" Some disciples had not sensed any danger and looked around curiously, but they could not see anything special about this place. The scholarly-looking man turned and gave a gentle smile as he said, "It's here. I'll let you all experience what an extremely powerful sword intent is." Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive crack appeared in the sky and countless traces of black and blood-red sword chi flowed out. The surroundings became icy cold, and within the crack was another blood-red world. Sensing that massive sword chi, the countless disciples felt both terrified and excited. They had never sensed such terrifying sword intent before. However, some people sensed that something was off and hurriedly retreated. Boom! At that moment, the massive crack exploded out with a powerful suction force, and countless disciples were sucked into the crack before they could react. Some disciples tried to struggle, but they were unable to resist at all, and they were all sucked into the crack. Some of the people on the outskirts were not as affected by the suction force, and they had long since sensed that something was off, so they quickly ran elsewhere. Clang, 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 chains quickly shot out, binding their bodies before throwing them into the blood-red crack. Not a single one of them was able to escape. After dealing with these 100,000 disciples, Zhao Fu used this method to send the remaining disciples into the Emperor-Killing Sword world. After these disciples entered the Emperor-Killing Sword world, their bodies would be corroded by the Killing Sword intent, and they would be submerged in the Killing Sword lake. There was no need for Zhao Fu to care. After a while, Zhao Fu would be able to go into sword obsession with 1,000,000 or so more. Boom! Chapter 1829. The person who had come was someone familiar. Even though the aura he gave off was incredibly terrifying, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear. In fact, he felt a bit excited, and he gave a trace of a smile. The person who had come looked furious and was filled with killing intent as he said, "You dare to come to the ancient sword sect and kill my ancient sword sect's disciples? Today I'll tear you to pieces and settle all of this hatred." Zhao Fu coldly laughed. "You want to settle all of this hatred? Do you think I'm still as weak as I was back then? Do you think you can kill me?" Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying power exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, causing a wild gale to spread out. Countless trees and flowers swayed as a massive might spread out. The ancient sword sect's sect master felt quite startled, and sensing Zhao Fu's aura, his expression became serious. Back then, he had felt that Zhao Fu was a disaster, and after not seeing him for a few years, his power had become so terrifying. By now, the ancient sword sect's sect master regretted not killing Zhao Fu back then. If he had, none of this would have happened. The ancient sword sect's sect master suddenly thought of his wife and said angrily, "What have you done to my wife? If you dare to do anything to her, I'll make you regret it." Thinking of Ling Feishue, Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "Your wife is doing quite well, so don't worry. I'll often enjoy your wife's body. It's quite good. Boom. Hearing this, the ancient sword sect master felt infuriated. He raised his hand and slammed out a palm, sending out a terrifying energy towards Zhao Fu. Bang! Zhao Fu coldly laughed and disappeared. The energy slammed into the ground, causing a massive crater that was dozens of meters wide to appear, and dust filled the air. Sand and rocks shot everywhere. Swish! Zhao Fu appeared beside the ancient sword sect master and held the emperor killing sword as he vigorously slashed out. A massive black sword light containing ferocious power slashed towards the ancient sword sect master. The ancient sword sect master coldly harumphed and drew his sword, sending out a white sword light that gave off an incredibly sharp aura as he slashed towards Zhao Fu. Bang! The black and white sword lights gave off immense power as they clashed together, resulting in a massive explosion. Sword light shot everywhere, sending out a storm of sword chi. The ancient sword sect master casually waved his hand, and the countless sword lights and sword chi disappeared. Zhao Fu also disappeared. Clang! A sword hum sounded out, and the ancient sword sect master looked up at the sky and saw Zhao Fu giving off an intense sword light, his sword containing terrifying power. It slashed down towards him. The ancient sword sect master sent a massive wave of power into the sword in his hand, causing it to give off countless rays of white sword light as a terrifying sword energy spread out. Boom! Zhao Fu gave off a black sword light as he slashed downwards, while the ancient sword sect master vigorously slashed out with his sword. The two swords collided and two powerful waves of energy collided, causing a terrifying shock wave to ripple out. The ancient sword sect master took 4 or 5 steps back, while Zhao Fu took more than 10 steps back. The ancient sword sect master coldly laughed. Trash? Do you think it's because you've become stronger? Haven't I become stronger? Right now, you're still my opponent. This time, I definitely won't let you run away. Zhao Fu replied coldly, Is that so? Boom! A massive aura once again exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, and a massive black aura flame appeared, causing Zhao Fu's power to skyrocket. The ancient sword sect master's gaze became slightly cold. He had underestimated Zhao Fu. He sent a powerful wave of sword energy into his sword and vigorously slashed out, and an enormous white crescent containing shocking power slashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and sent powerful power into the Emperor Killing Sword. The Emperor Killing Sword gave off an intense black light as he vigorously slashed out. Bang! The gigantic white crescent was shattered by the sword, and countless white sword lights scattered in all directions, forming a strong gale. Roar! A massive dragon's roar sounded out as the ancient sword sect master raised his sword, and a white sword light rushed into the sky. The surroundings were filled with white sword light, and a white dragon of sword chi circled around the pillar of sword light. An extremely sharp power spread out, and waves of sword wind spread out. The heavens and earth were filled with a sharp aura, and it felt as if their bodies were going to be cut. Roar! 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 9 dragons' roars sounded out from within Zhao Fu's body as his divine blood started to burn. The aura flame around his body became black and blood-red flames, and Zhao Fu raised his sword. 9 savage black dragons appeared behind him, and a terrifying power spread out. Countless traces of black light spread out, causing the surroundings to become black. At the same time, a formless emperor's might descended, causing all creatures to submit. Shing! The ancient sword sect master vigorously slashed out, and a massive sword hum tore through the sky. The white pillar of sword light seemed to tear apart the heavens and earth as it slashed towards Zhao Fu. Boom! Zhao Fu also slashed down, and a massive explosion sounded out, shaking the surroundings. The 9 black dragons gave off massive roars and gave off destructive power as they attacked towards the ancient sword sect master. Bang! The two terrifying attacks collided, forming a massive black and white orb of light that exploded. A destructive power instantly spread out, causing the ground, rocks, and trees to all collapse, and a 10,000-meter wide crater appeared in the ground. Zhao Fu and the ancient sword sect master were both sent flying by the shockwave, and a trace of blood leaked out of their lip. The ancient sword sect master looked furious as he cursed, "Trash!" The ancient sword sect master gave off a terrifying aura as he once again rushed at Zhao Fu, continuously slashing towards Zhao Fu as if he wanted to cut Zhao Fu into countless pieces. Zhao Fu's expression was cold as he continuously slashed out. Bang! 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 The sword lights clashed together, resulting in massive explosions. Waves of sword wind spread out, causing rocks to shatter and countless trees to snap. Arg! The ancient sword sect master roared as an even greater power exploded out from him. His body gave off countless rays of sword light as he sent Zhao Fu flying back. Bang! Zhao Fu was slammed into the ground by that attack, smashing open a 10 or so meter wide crater, and blood leaked out of his lip. Boom! The ancient sword sect master vigorously slashed out with his sword, and a massive white sword light containing terrifying power slashed towards Zhao Fu. Celestial mode. Activate. A powerful celestial-like power exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, and Zhao Fu's eyes gave off a rainbow light as a rainbow magic formation appeared on his forehead, and a rainbow rune circle appeared. Boom! Zhao Fu turned into a rainbow ray of light and gave off a terrifying power as he rushed forwards, shattering the incoming sword light and shooting towards the ancient sword sect master. The ancient sword sect master looked quite startled, and a white energy barrier appeared around his body. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the rainbow-colored ray of light gave off terrifying power and sent the energy barrier flying. Chapter 1830. The colorful light dissipated, and Zhao Fu stood in the air with a cold expression. The ancient sword sect master glared at Su Bai and erupted with all of his power. Countless rays of light radiated from his body, bringing with them a terrifying pressure and an extremely sharp aura, causing the surroundings to become extremely cold. At this moment, the ancient sword sect master stood in the sky like a sword god. It was as if he was invincible. Zhao Fu's expression also became somewhat serious, and his entire body gave off a celestial glow, making him look like an immortal. Both of them stood in the air, exuding powerful auras. The two auras constantly collided, forming a violent wind. The ancient sword sect master's expression became serious. After not seeing Zhao Fu for a few years, he had actually forced him to use his full strength, or else he would definitely lose to Zhao Fu. Clang! The two of them turned into a ray of sword light and rushed towards each other with a powerful force. They collided together, causing countless rays of sword light to shoot out. The light scattered, and the ancient sword sect master's sword pierced towards Zhao Fu's throat. Zhao Fu dodged to the side and swung his sword at the same time, bringing out a sharp arc of light. The ancient sword sect master flipped in the air and dodged Zhao Fu's attack. He appeared above Zhao Fu's head and slashed down with a powerful sword force. Zhao Fu blocked the ancient sword sect master's sword with his sword, causing sparks to explode and a sonorous sound to ring out. Arg! The ancient sword sect master roared, and a wave of power surged out. Borrowing this massive power, the ancient sword sect master pressed down on Zhao Fu. Under this massive power, Zhao Fu's body began to fall quickly and directly hit the ground. The ground instantly collapsed, and a large crater appeared. The ancient sword sect master released an even stronger power, and his body gave off countless strong lights as he continued to press down on Zhao Fu. Boom! A rainbow-colored aura flame erupted around Zhao Fu's body as a massive power exploded out. Zhao Fu gripped his sword and vigorously slashed out, sending the ancient sword sect master flying back. The ancient sword sect master's body quickly flew back. Zhao Fu stretched out a palm and a 3-meter-wide, rainbow-colored magic formation appeared. The surrounding heaven and earth power quickly gathered, and the rainbow-colored magic formation gave off an intense light. Boom! A powerful rainbow-colored ray of light containing terrifying power shot out, bringing with it a gust of wind as it shot towards the ancient sword sect master. The ancient sword sect master stopped himself and faced the incoming beam of light. He spun his sword and vigorously slashed out, and a sharp sword light split the incoming beam of light in half. Bang! Bang! The 2 rays of light landed on the ground behind the ancient sword sect master and exploded, blasting open 2 large craters. The ancient sword sect master's expression was cold as he pointed his sword at Zhao Fu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the heavens and earth dimmed and clouds swirled. World energy quickly gathered, forming a white sword of light above the ancient sword sect master's head. This sword of light continuously absorbed the power in the surroundings and slowly became larger. In the end, it became a 10,000-meter-long sword of light that gave off a faint sword light. It gave off an incredibly terrifying power and a terrifying might, and the surrounding ground started to sink. Shing! Zhao Fu raised his sword and a sword light shot into the sky. The surrounding heaven and earth power quickly gathered, and a rainbow-colored sword formation giving off a sharp aura appeared in the sky. The surrounding heaven and earth power continuously gathered, causing the rainbow-colored sword formation to give off an intense light. An aura of annihilation spread out, giving off an extremely dangerous feeling. Boom! The ancient sword sect master swung the sword in his hand, and the 10,000-meter-long sword of light gave off terrifying power as it shot towards Zhao Fu. It seemed to be able to destroy anything, and everything collapsed. Boom! Boom! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed down with his sword, and the magic formation in the sky spun as terrifying sword lights containing world-rending power descended, seeming to split the world apart. Bang! The 2 terrifying powers clashed together, and a blinding sword light covered everything. A terrifying shockwave spread out, destroying the ground, grass, trees, and rocks, and causing the ground to tremble. A massive gust of wind blew, bringing with it countless pieces of stone and wood that flew in all directions, creating a terrifying scene. After the shockwaves settled, the ancient sword sect master lay within a large crater. There were many bloody wounds on his body, and his hair was somewhat disheveled, making him look quite wretched. Zhao Fu stood in the air and pointed his sword at the ancient sword sect master as he coldly smiled and said, "Today, I'll return the humiliation you suffered back then tenfold." The ancient sword sect master's expression was quite unsightly. His cultivation was now at the divine realm, but he was still not a match for Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu's strength had grown too quickly and was simply too terrifying. As expected from the person who had once ranked first on the Heaven's Pride rankings. Now the ancient sword sect master understood just how terrifying Zhao Fu's potential was. If he was given a few more years, he would become even more terrifying, and perhaps he would be able to easily kill him. No matter what price he had to pay, he had to kill Zhao Fu. The ancient sword sect master raised a hand and grabbed at the air. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as heaven and earth power continuously gathered, forming dense clouds. The light dimmed, and an oppressive feeling filled the air. Boom! An explosion once again sounded out as a terrifying sword energy tore through the clouds, creating a large hole. A massive, ancient sword slowly descended from the sky, giving off an incredibly powerful sword aura. This was the ancient sword sect armament. The Eastern Flow Ancient Sword. Seeing that the ancient sword sect master had taken out his sect armament, Zhao Fu did not hesitate and raised a hand, causing a formless energy to spread out. Boom! 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 Massive explosions sounded out as an azure light covered the heavens and earth. Massive waves of killing intent flooded out like a flood, causing the entire world to fall into an icy coldness. 12 bronze soldiers wearing armor and holding sharp swords appeared beside Zhao Fu, giving off a terrifying might, causing everything to fall silent. The ancient sword sect master grabbed at the air, and the Eastern Flow ancient sword, which was giving off terrifying power, turned into a ray of light and flew into the ancient sword sect master's hand. It was the same size as a normal sword. Boom! At the same time, an incredibly terrifying sword energy exploded out from the ancient sword sect master's body, causing the space below to instantly shatter. The space within 10,000 meters seemed to be able to destroy everything. Zhao Fu also grabbed at the air, and the 12 bronze soldiers turned into rays of light and entered Zhao Fu's body. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive azure aura exploded out from Zhao Fu's body, instantly inundating everything. The world seemed to freeze, and it was incredibly terrifying. Chapter 1831. Boom! The ancient sword sect master raised the Eastern Flow ancient sword and vigorously slashed out. A massive crescent containing world-destroying power slashed towards Zhao Fu, as if nothing could stop it. Xing! Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword, and a massive wave of his nation armament's power flowed into it, causing it to become an azure sword that gave off an intense sword light. He vigorously slashed out, and a massive azure sword light containing terrifying sword energy slashed out. Bang! A sky-shaking explosion sounded out as the two sword lights collided with terrifying power. A devastating shockwave instantly spread out. The ground, mountains, rocks, trees, and creeks were instantly obliterated without any resistance. The ground violently trembled, and a terrifying aura caused all godly spirits in the surrounding tens of thousands of kilometers to fall into despair. However, energy barriers automatically appeared around Zhao Fu and the ancient sword sect master, blocking that terrifying shockwave. In the next second, the ancient sword sect master disappeared and reappeared in front of Zhao Fu. His sword contained terrifying sword energy as he slashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu also slashed out with shocking power. Xing! The two swords collided, resulting in a clanging sound that sounded out in all directions, and countless sparks flew out. The ancient sword sect master put away his sword and once again slashed towards Zhao Fu, sending out a terrifying sword light. Zhao Fu used his sword to blocking the sword strike. The ancient sword sect master continuously swung his sword, sending out terrifying sword lights containing terrifying power. They continuously slashed out, bringing with them sword winds that were incredibly ferocious and gave off sword hums. Zhao Fu continuously blocked with his sword, and an azure energy barrier appeared around him, blocking the countless sword lights. Arg! The ancient sword sect master roared as an even more powerful aura exploded out and entered the sword. The sword gave off an intense sword light that seemed to be able to cut through space, and the ancient sword sect master vigorously slashed out. Bang! Even though Zhao Fu blocked with his sword, his body was still sent flying back 100 or so meters. The ancient sword sect master gave off a terrifying aura as he rushed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu snorted coldly, "It's my turn." A green aura spread out as 12 bronze swords containing shocking power appeared around Zhao Fu. A massive aura of killing and conquering spread out, filling the heavens and earth with a sense of danger. Clang 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 clang, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and pushed forwards, causing the 12 bronze swords to give off green sword lights and give off terrifying power as they shot towards the ancient sword sect master incredibly quickly. The ancient sword sect master's expression fell as he rushed towards Zhao Fu. He sent a large amount of power into his sword, causing it to give off a terrifying sword energy. The ancient sword sect master quickly swung his sword, sending out sharp arcs of light. Clang, 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 clang. The sound of metal colliding could be heard, as sparks flew everywhere. The bronze swords slashing towards the ancient sword sect master were all sent flying. Suddenly, Zhao Fu's figure appeared in front of the ancient sword sect master, and the emperor killing sword gave off boundless azure sword chi, giving off destructive power. Boom! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, and a terrifying sword energy containing destructive power slashed out. The ancient sword sect master hurriedly blocked with his sword, but his body was sent flying like a rubber ball and heavily smashed into a mountain, causing it to collapse. The ancient sword sect master coughed up a large mouthful of blood and crawled up from the rubble, looking at Zhao Fu with killing intent. Zhao Fu pointed his sword at the ancient sword sect master and said coldly, "I said I'd make you pay back tenfold. Do you feel like you can't defeat me? As the sect master of the ancient sword sect, you can't even defeat someone who has only cultivated for a few years. Shouldn't you feel ashamed?" Boom! The ancient sword sect master exploded out with a terrifying aura and turned into a massive sword light that gave off destructive power as it shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu raised the sword in his hand and sent a powerful wave of power into it. The sword gave off boundless azure sword light that covered the surroundings, and Zhao Fu's expression became savage as he slashed down with all of his strength. Boom! The ancient sword sect master, who had turned into a terrifying sword light, was slashed to the ground by Zhao Fu, smashing open a massive crater. Countless rubble flew everywhere and dust rose up. The ancient sword sect master coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood and furiously roared, "Trash! I haven't seen you in a few years, and you're indeed very powerful. However, I wield the ancient sword sect armament. You'll definitely die at its hands today." Shing! A massive sword hum tore through the sky as the Eastern Flow ancient sword gave off countless rays of sword light. The image of a ferocious surging river appeared in the surroundings, giving off massive sounds of water. Everything in the surroundings started to collapse. This was the Eastern Flow ancient sword's sword intent. Zhao Fu's expression was serious as he raised the emperor killing sword. Boundless azure light shined out as 12 massive bronze swords giving off massive auras appeared behind Zhao Fu, and an intense sword chi storm spread out. The ancient sword sect master gripped the sword with one hand and slashed out with all of his strength. Boom! The image of the river gave off power that seemed to be able to drown out everything as it ferociously rushed towards Zhao Fu, seeming as if nothing could stop it. Shing, shing, shing! Zhao Fu vigorously swung the sword in his hand, and the 12 bronze swords behind him gave off large amounts of azure sword light that gave off power to slash through everything as they shot towards the ancient sword sect master. Bang! A deafening explosion erupted as the two attacks collided, resulting in an incomparably loud explosion. An orb of destruction instantly spread out, devouring everything and turning it into nothingness. Bang! Zhao Fu was sent flying by that power and heavily smashed into the ground, opening up a large crater and causing rubble to fly everywhere. Ha ha ha! Now you've seen how powerful my sect armament is, right? Even though I'm not as strong as you, my sect armament has the support of 14 worlds. Your nation armament is too weak, so prepare to die. The ancient sword sect master stood in the air and madly laughed as he spoke to Zhao Fu. A trace of anger appeared on Zhao Fu's face, and he vigorously pressed against the ground, causing a massive formless energy to spread out. Clang, clang, clang! Massive azure chains on the ground gave off power that seemed to be able to pierce through everything as they shot towards the ancient sword sect master in the air. There were hundreds of thousands of them. The ancient sword sect master quickly swung his sword, sending out rays of sword light that destroyed the countless incoming chains. The shattered chains continuously fell like rain, creating a shocking scene. Zhao Fu's eyes locked onto the ancient sword sect master, and blood slowly leaked out of his left eye. A black and blood-red sword-shaped pupil gave off a faint blood-red light as a crack appeared on it, and a terrifying forbidden power seemed to be released. Clang, 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 clang. Chapter 1832. The sky, ground, space, grass, trees, and everything else was destroyed by the sword chi. Countless traces of black and red sword chi flooded out, seeming to be able to destroy the heavens and earth as they shot towards the ancient sword sect master. The ancient sword sect master's expression fell, and he raised his sword and sent all of his power into it. Tens of thousands of rays of white sword light containing terrifying power shot towards Zhao Fu like bolts of lightning. Bang! The two powers once again clashed together, resulting in a massive explosion. Countless strands of sword chi shot out in all directions, piercing through everything in their surroundings. The scene was extremely terrifying. However, in the end, the blood-red sword chi was slightly stronger. It destroyed the countless rays of white sword light and sent the ancient sword sect master flying back. His body was covered with wounds and blood, and he looked quite wretched. Zhao Fu coldly smiled and held his sword as he walked towards the ancient sword sect master. Shing! Zhao Fu swung the sword in his hand, and an azure sword light containing a sharp aura slashed towards the ancient sword sect master. The ancient sword sect master hurriedly blocked with his sword. Even though he had blocked the attack, he was still sent flying back. The ancient sword sect master crashed to the ground and tried to get up. Zhao Fu once again slashed out, sending the ancient sword sect master flying back. Arg! The ancient sword sect master furiously roared and exploded out with all of his power. A massive wave of white sword chi spread out, bringing with it a gale. Shing, 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 shing! White swords of light appeared around the ancient sword sect master's body, pointing towards Zhao Fu. They gave off an incredibly sharp aura, and the air around them seemed to be able to kill people. The ancient sword sect master's expression was savage. He looked at Zhao Fu in front of him. Swish, 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 the white swords of light gave off faint sword lights and gave off immense power as they quickly shot towards Zhao Fu. Bang! 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 Zhao Fu quickly brandished the sword in his hand and slashed out sword lights, shattering the countless white swords of light and causing explosions to sound out. The white swords of light turned into countless motes of light and dissipated, looking like a rain of light. The scene was quite beautiful. The ancient sword sect master stretched out a hand towards Zhao Fu, and a massive wave of power spread out. Countless white swords of light once again appeared in the surroundings, many times more than before, and they gave off an even greater sword aura. The ancient sword sect master stretched out his hand and pushed forwards. Xiao xiao xiao! White swords of light continued to fly towards Zhao Fu with powerful force. Facing so many swords of light, even Zhao Fu was somewhat unable to block them. The sword lights that he brandished were unable to shatter the white swords of light that quickly. A gigantic cyan energy barrier immediately appeared. Bang bang bang! The light swords quickly slashed at the azure energy shield, producing loud sounds. The huge azure energy shield withstood so many attacks that some cracks appeared. Shing! A sword hum suddenly sounded out as the ancient sword sect master's sword shot out countless sword lights. The ancient sword sect master vigorously slashed out, and a gigantic white sword light containing terrifying power slashed towards Zhao Fu. Bang! The terrifying sword light gave off shocking power as it slashed against the azure defensive barrier, causing it to shatter. Zhao Fu's body was sent flying back and crashed to the ground, coughing up a large mouthful of blood. The ancient sword sect master turned into a ray of light and shot towards Zhao Fu, appearing in front of Zhao Fu in just a second. At that moment, Zhao Fu was just about to get up from the ground. The ancient sword sect master's expression was savage as he swung his sword, slashing out with terrifying power, directly cutting Zhao Fu in half and causing blood to fly everywhere. This caused the ancient sword sect master to feel quite startled. He had never thought that he would be able to kill Zhao Fu so easily. However, looking at the corpse that had been cut in half, the ancient sword sect master could not help but feel wild joy. He had finally killed this threat. However, in the next second, the ancient sword sect master was given a big fright and sensed immense danger. He hurriedly turned and used his sword to block. Bang! Zhao Fu appeared behind him, and his glass-like eye gave off a strange light. The sword in his hand gave off an intense sword light as he vigorously slashed out, sending the ancient sword sect master flying back. The ancient sword sect master was unable to block, and a massive gash appeared on his back. Blood continuously flowed out, and the ancient sword sect master's face became pale. That attack had dealt great damage to him. Now, he could only fight with his life on the line, or else he might really die at Zhao Fu's hands. Thinking about that, the ancient sword sect master did not hesitate and raised his sword. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the ancient sword sect master's body gave off boundless white light, forming a massive ray of white light that shot into the sky with immense power. The source energy of the 14 worlds that the ancient sword sect controlled madly gathered, and the countless residents looked up at the sky in shock. The surrounding heaven and earth power continuously flowed into the white pillar of light, and the pillar of light gave off an extremely terrifying power. Shing, 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 white swords of light appeared in the sky, densely covering the entire sky. All of the swords were extremely sharp, and they spun around the white sword pillar, giving off a world-destroying sword aura. Massive sword winds blew out, destroying countless trees and rocks, and the ground was covered with sword gashes. Even people far away could sense the terrifying power coming from the sword winds. Seeing the ancient sword sect master release out all of his nation armament's power, Zhao Fu did not hesitate and raised his sword with both hands. The source energy of the 9 worlds that Qin controlled madly gathered and flowed into Qin City. Boom! 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 12 bronze sword-wielding soldiers dressed in armor gave off heaven-toppling might as they appeared in the sky. Time and space seemed to be forcefully locked down, and countless people felt as if they had fallen into icy water, causing them to uncontrollably tremble. They seemed to come to life, and their expressions were cold as they gripped their bronze swords with both hands. They raised their swords and pointed them towards the sky as they gave off a warlike voice, "Valiant old Qin, we fight together against our nation's calamity. Valiant old Qin, we restore our rivers and mountains. Until our blood runs dry, we fight to the death. Qin is in the west, rising like the sun. 100 years of national hatred, difficult to pacify. How can there be peace when the world is in chaos? Qin has elite soldiers. Who dares to contend with them?" Boom! 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 Heaven-shaking explosions sounded out as a world-destroying aura rushed into the sky, sweeping out in all directions. Azure flames ignited on the bodies of the 12 bronze colossi, and the space around them was unable to withstand it and continuously tore apart. The ancient sword sect master's expression was savage as he roared and slashed down with his sword. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded out as the heavens and earth continuously shattered. The densely packed swords of light in the sky all shot towards Zhao Fu like a boundless ocean of swords, and nothing could stop it. Zhao Fu's eyes lit up. Zhao Fu loudly roared as he raised his sword with both hands and slashed out with all of his strength. Clang, 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 clang. The 12 bronze soldiers sent terrifying power into their swords, causing them to give off a sky-piercing sword light that dyed the heavens and earth azure. They used all of their strength to slash down with their swords, giving off 12 heaven-shaking sword hums. 12 massive azure sword lights slashed out with thunderous power, seeming to split the world into 12 pieces. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded out as the boundless sea of white swords was slashed into 12 pieces by the 12 azure sword lights. Countless white swords of light shattered and turned into motes of light, causing a rain of light to descend. As the 12 azure sword lights slashed out, the massive sword energy slammed into the ground, causing the ground to continuously tremble. 12 sword gashes that were hundreds of thousands of meters long appeared. Chapter 1833. Zhao Fu stood in the air and looked down at the ground, searching for the ancient sword sect master. Zhao Fu was unable to determine if the ancient sword sect master was dead or alive. Boom! 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 Explosions sounded out as waves of powerful auras rushed over, as well as an army giving off sharp auras. Zhao Fu's expression slightly fell as he understood that it was the ancient sword sect experts and an army rushing over. He did not hesitate and turned into a ray of sword light as he disappeared over the horizon. A while later, people giving off powerful auras stood in the air, looking at the scene in front of them in shock. Just what sort of terrifying existence was their sect master fighting with? Even though they had not personally witnessed the battle, from the scene before them, it was definitely on the level of destroying the heavens and earth. Moreover, both sides seemed to have used terrifying nation armaments. A white-bearded elder wearing robes had an unsightly expression as he hurriedly called out, "Hurry and find the sect master. We can't allow anything to happen to him." The experts quickly searched, and the ancient sword sect's army also hurried over and joined in the search. In the end, everyone found the ancient sword sect's sect master within a deep valley. The ancient sword sect's sect master was on the verge of death. Everyone hurried over to save the ancient sword sect's sect master, feeling quite shocked. Just who could injure the ancient sword sect's sect master so heavily? With the ancient sword sect's sect master's power, only the Tao cultivation sect's sect master could rival him. In other words, the ancient sword sect's sect master's strength was ranked first in the ancient STEM domain. However, not only had he been defeated, but he had also been so heavily injured. No one in the ancient STEM domain could do such a thing. Could it be someone from another domain? The ancient sword sect's experts did not stay here for too long and quickly carried the ancient sword sect's sect master back to the ancient sword sect. This news quickly spread and shook the entire ancient STEM domain. The ancient sword sect was the most powerful faction in the ancient STEM domain, and it was about to become the #1 faction in the ancient STEM domain. However, the ancient sword sect's sect master had been defeated by someone and had almost died at someone else's hands. This was incredibly shocking. At the same time, they felt even more curious about who had done this. With the ancient sword sect's sect master's cultivation and sect armament, who could defeat him? Then, an even more shocking piece of news spread. The mysterious emperor who had disappeared for a few years had once again appeared. Not only had he captured many of the ancient sword sect's disciples, but he had also defeated the ancient sword sect's sect master. Just how terrifying was that mysterious emperor? Back at the ancient STEM banquet, that mysterious disciple had been beaten up by the ancient sword sect's sect master, and in just a few years, the situation had completely reversed. That mysterious emperor's growth was simply too shocking. Now that the mysterious emperor had the power to defeat the ancient sword sect's sect master, the ancient sword sect's situation was quite dangerous. He now had the power to threaten the ancient sword sect and could take revenge. He might even mobilize a terrifying army to destroy the entire ancient sword sect. When the Tao cultivation sect heard this news, they were shaken. The thing they had been guarding against had finally happened. In actuality, they had long since expected this to happen because they knew that the mysterious emperor had caused a massive stir in the heaven domain. Even Emperor Path College had personally taken him in as a student, and he had connections with higher beings. It would be strange if such a terrifying person didn't have his current terrifying strength. That was why the Tao cultivation sect was wary of him and chose to stay in seclusion. On a stone stage on a mountain peak, Bai Hauren's expression was quite unsightly as he said to an elder, "Master, what should we do now? What should we do? That mysterious emperor has appeared in the end, and after a few years, his power has become so terrifying to the point that he can even defeat the ancient sword sect's sect master." The Tao cultivation sect's sect master sighed, "What should come has come. I wonder what the Tao cultivation sect will be like in the future. Back then, I regretted not stopping him, and I even caused enmity between your big brother and him. That's why we're in such a situation now. If we had stopped him back then, none of this would have happened, and the Tao cultivation sect would not have stayed in seclusion because of him. In fact, we might have become friends with him, and the Tao cultivation sect might have been able to help us in the future. Since he has once again appeared with such terrifying power, the Tao cultivation sect needs to be even more careful. Soon, he will cause a storm of blood in the ancient stem domain. I just hope that he will let the Tao cultivation sect off and not drag us into this," Zhao Fu said. Bai Hauren's face was pale, but he nodded in understanding. If it was anyone else, they definitely would not understand why such a large sect would fear a single person so much. However, Bai Hauren knew how terrifying that person was. He could also predict that the mysterious emperor would cause a bloodbath in the ancient stem domain, and he felt quite worried. Right now, the Tao cultivation sect just wanted to be well-behaved and silently stay by the side, hoping that the mysterious emperor would not come. Otherwise, even if his big brother, Bai Xingjun, returned as a higher being's disciple, it would be useless. An order was given out, and the Tao cultivation sect became even more careful. They tightly closed their sect and even activated their sect formation, not allowing any disciples to go out or receive visitors. They completely cut off all contact with the outside world. This made everyone feel quite surprised, and they could not help but think about why the Tao cultivation sect had tightly closed their sect and did not care about what happened in the ancient stem domain. This was because as soon as news of the mysterious emperor's appearance had spread, the Tao cultivation sect seemed to be afraid and became even more careful. This was simply too much of a coincidence. It was as if the Tao cultivation sect had long since expected this and feared that mysterious emperor, which was why they had chosen to remain in seclusion. Perhaps they knew something that others did not. This caused countless people to feel quite shocked. The Tao cultivation sect was the true #1 faction in the ancient stem domain, and yet they feared that mysterious emperor. Just how terrifying was that mysterious emperor? Within a simple and unadorned building, Yin Ruoshi said seriously, "Master, I said before that if you had saved him back then, it would have been greatly beneficial to the heavenly music sect. However, Master, you were too worried and missed this opportunity. Now, that person has defeated the ancient sword sect's sect master in just a few years." The heavenly music sect's sect master's expression became slightly unsightly as he said, "I made the wrong choice this time, and now I feel some regret. If I had known that this mysterious emperor was so terrifying, I would have saved him back then. I wonder what his attitude towards the ancient stem domain is." Yin Roshi shook her head as she said, "I don't know what his attitude towards the ancient stem domain is, but I'm sure that the ancient stem domain will not have a day of peace in the future." The heavenly music sect's sect master nodded seriously as he said, "Now that things have come to this, there's no point in regretting it. The heavenly music sect should make some preparations in case anything happens." Yin Ruoshi nodded. Chapter 1834. If the heavenly music sect can subdue the Qin Empire, it will be of great help to the heavenly music sect. Sure, go and give it a try. Hearing this, Yin Ruoshi nodded and said, "I understand. The heavenly music sect master thought of something and smiled as he said, with sure air's looks, if she marries Great Chin's legatee will definitely agree to submit to her. It's just that Prince Chin is too lustful, and he has more women in his harem than an entire empire. He's quite ordinary, and even though he has great potential, I can't bear to give you to someone like him. Ruoshi slightly frowned as she said, I've seen that Prince Chin before. He's a very ordinary person, and I don't know what abilities he has. As the emperor of the Qin Empire, he doesn't match the rumors. However, I don't like him taking in countless beauties as concubines, and he doesn't even spare the wives and mothers of his enemies. I can't accept such a man. The heavenly music sect master smiled as she said, Sure, I knew you wouldn't like him. Also, sure, what do you think of that mysterious prince? With his strength, mysteriousness, and his looks, I'd be very happy to see him become your husband. If you become his wife, our heavenly music sect will have a great relationship with him, and you won't have to worry about what he will do to our heavenly music sect in the future. Sure, if you follow such a man, it will be of great benefit to you in the future. Ruoshi's face became slightly red as she said, Master, with that terrifying existence of his, it's possible that he won't be interested in me. The heavenly music sect master looked at Ruoshi in surprise and smiled as she said, So you're interested in him as well, sure. Ruoshi's face became red, and she did not hide it as she lightly nodded and said, I do have a trace of good feelings towards him. If such a man becomes my husband, I won't object. The heavenly music sect master felt quite happy as she smiled and said, I can help with this matter. With sure air's looks, I'm sure that no man will not be moved. Ruoshi's face became slightly red as she lightly nodded and did not say anything else. However, they did not know that the mysterious emperor was Great Chin's emperor, who they did not like, so they naturally did not know. Within a gloomy palace, Yu Qianyue's expression was quite unsightly as he said, Father, you shouldn't have acted back then and offended such a terrifying person. Even the ancient sword sect master was almost killed. If Father comes to find you, you won't have any hope of surviving. The cold-looking middle-aged man's expression was quite unsightly and gave off a savage look as he said, Back then, I thought he was definitely going to die, which was why I acted. There is an world supreme within his body, and if I could obtain it, the benefits would be unimaginable. Now, I don't regret acting against him. Instead, I regret not killing him back then. If I had killed him, none of this would have happened. Perhaps I would have obtained the underworld sovereign and become the #1 expert in the ancient STEM domain. Yu Qianyue said, Then what should Father do now? That mysterious emperor has taken revenge on the ancient sword sect many times, and it's possible that he will make a move against us as well. The cold-looking middle-aged man coldly harumphed, The Nether dynasty has increased its vigilance. As long as I stay within the Nether dynasty, I will naturally be fine. With that boy's strength, I'm not a match for him, but he will not be able to defeat an entire royal kingdom. I just want him to come quickly. I can gather the Nether dynasty's army and experts to surround and kill him and obtain the underworld sovereign. When that time comes, not only will I be the #1 expert in the ancient STEM domain, but the Nether dynasty will also be above the ancient sword sect. Yu Qianyue looked quite worried. If that mysterious emperor was so easy to deal with, he would not have lived for so long. He would not be so stupid as to fight head-on with the Nether dynasty. However, if he really did come, the Nether dynasty would suffer a calamity. Even though the Nether dynasty's king did not fear that mysterious emperor, Yu Qianyue had personally seen how terrifying that mysterious emperor was, so he felt quite worried. Within a luxurious room, the Bear Mountain Kingdom's king sat with a cold expression as he listened to the people below report to him. He felt a headache. It had been a few years, and if that mysterious emperor had not appeared, he might have forgotten about that matter. At the same time, he regretted not killing that mysterious emperor earlier. Now that he had caused such a big incident, the threat he posed was terrifying. Even the ancient sword sect master was not a match for that mysterious emperor and had almost died at his hands. With his own strength, he definitely would not be a match for that mysterious emperor and might even die at his hands. He could not be careless now, and the Bear Mountain Kingdom's king said coldly, "Everyone in the kingdom, be on guard to prevent anything unexpected from happening. Also, pay attention to everything regarding that mysterious emperor." Yes. The person below obeyed and turned to leave. A beautiful and noble-looking woman sitting next to him said, "Even if he defeated the ancient sword sect master, he's just a single person. A few 100 million Bear Mountain Kingdom soldiers would be able to kill him. Is there a need for the kingdom to treat him so seriously?" The Bear Mountain Kingdom's king said seriously with a cold expression, "There's a need. You haven't seen him before. That mysterious emperor is extremely terrifying. Back then, he was someone I could easily crush to death, but after not seeing him for a few years, he has the power to kill me. I didn't forget that when he was escaping, he revealed 3 terrifying emperor stars, which is why he has such potential. If he has more time, even I might become an ant in front of him," Zhao Fu said as he looked at Zhao Fu. The beautiful woman asked in shock, 3 emperor stars? This is the first time I've heard of such a thing. Is it really that terrifying? The Bear Mountain Kingdom's king nodded seriously. They did not know that Zhao Fu already had 6 emperor stars. In an icy palace, a group of people in long robes sat together, discussing something with serious expressions on their faces. AI. That mysterious emperor's growth speed is simply too fast. He actually has the power to kill the ancient sword sect master, and he can be said to be the #1 expert in the ancient STEM domain. Let's see if the Tao cultivation sect master is a match for him. That's right. Now that I think about it, I feel quite regretful. Back then, abandoned school asked me to help that mysterious emperor, but I did not agree. Back then, abandoned school had some relations with him, and we have an advantage over the other factions. We can form a deeper relationship with him, which will be of great help to us in the future. However, we did not grasp this opportunity. What should we do now? Tell me. Let's increase our vigilance as well. Back then, we saw that mysterious emperor being humiliated by the ancient sword sect master. Who knows if he will bear a grudge against us? Chapter 1835. It was not just them. The Greenwood Kingdom, Windcloud Kingdom, Ancient God Sect, and other large factions also became more vigilant in order to prevent that mysterious emperor from taking revenge against them. The most vigilant faction was naturally the Ancient Sword Sect. Such a thing had happened. All of their soldiers and disciples were gathered to defend the surroundings, and the entire sect was filled with an austere aura, and no one dared to get close. This matter had a great impact on the Ancient Sword Sect. It suppressed the Ancient Sword Sect's morale and once again made the Ancient Sword Sect lose face. At the same time, this greatly threatened them. Even though the various large factions became vigilant, they could not understand why the Tao Cultivation Sect was so afraid of that mysterious emperor. They directly cut off all contact with the outside world. After all, they were the #1 faction in the ancient STEM domain. They felt a trace of fear, but they would not act like this. However, they did not know just how terrifying Zhao Fu was, nor did they know about the commotion that Zhao Fu had caused in the Heaven domain. Otherwise, they would have been the same as the Tao Cultivation Sect. Seeing all of these terrifying factions become vigilant because of a single person, the ordinary people in the ancient STEM domain could not help but feel shocked. There had never been such a person before, and all of the large factions in the ancient STEM domain felt a trace of fear. They could not help but be on guard against him. Fudge! That person is so powerful. such a terrifying person suddenly appeared? You don't know? Back then, he was incredibly famous and caused a massive commotion. He was the one who ascended to the 10,000 dragon stage, and he was the #1 genius of the ancient STEM domain back then. His power is incredibly terrifying, and I heard that he's an emperor. Is that so? I've been in the inner regions of the ancient STEM domain for a few years, but I've never heard of this person. With how famous he is, how could I know him? Haha, you newcomers don't know about this. Back then, at the ancient STEM banquet, that mysterious emperor accidentally injured the ancient sword sect's genius and was humiliated by the ancient sword sect's sect master. In the end, the ancient sword sect's sect master wanted to kill him, but he escaped. Since then, there has been no news of him. Oh. So it's like that. No wonder he appeared in such a domineering manner. However, that mysterious emperor is so powerful. He was actually able to defeat an expert of the ancient sword sect's sect master's level. That battle was simply apocalyptic and was super terrifying. However, no one was able to personally witness it. However, many people have gone to look at the traces of the battle, and they are still quite terrifying. I really admire this kind of expert. He actually has this kind of power. Back then, the ancient sword sect's sect master used his own strength to bully others. Now, he's simply a scourge. It's not just the ancient sword sect. The Nether-Een dynasty and Bear Mountain dynasty have also acted. This time, it's possible that the mysterious emperor will take revenge on all three of them. I don't think it's just the three major forces. Now, all of the large factions in the ancient STEM domain are on guard. They're all worried about that mysterious emperor's revenge. I feel that he's incredibly domineering. Just him alone can cause all of the large factions in the ancient STEM domain to feel fear. I think so too. I'm starting to worship that mysterious imperial prince now. Sword Chant and his fellows, who were near Qin, had planned to put pressure on Qin and force Qin to surrender to them. However, they didn't expect to hear this news. Jian Yin's expression became quite unsightly. He had never thought that even their ancient sword sect's sect master would almost be killed. Just who was that mysterious emperor? After thinking about it, Jian Yin did not stay here and decided to immediately return to the ancient sword sect. Xiong Xiao also received orders, and her expression became quite serious because her imperial father wanted her to immediately return. After all, Xiong Xiao and Zhao Fu had enmity, and Xiong Xiao was the Bear Mountain Kingdom's legatee. It was possible that Zhao Fu would act against her. With Zhao Fu's current strength, if he wanted to kill someone, who could stop him? As such, they immediately called Xiong Xiao back. Xiong Xiao had never thought that the person who she had enmity with back then would become so terrifying and cause the entire ancient STEM sect to be on guard. Even though she was quite unwilling, Xiong Xiao thought about it and decided to quickly return to the Bear Mountain Kingdom. Jian Yin and Xiong Xiao left. Qing Muji lightly harumphed. Are you afraid? Hurry up and leave. Perhaps that mysterious imperial prince will come and kill you. Jiu Xiaoyun lightly laughed. Little girl, aren't you afraid? You want us to leave and conquer the Qin Empire by yourself? Keep dreaming. Perhaps the first person that mysterious imperial prince will kill will be you. Qing Muji raised her head and said confidently, I'm not afraid. I've never offended him, and he's an imperial prince, right? I can't casually make a move against innocent people. Moreover, I'm so cute. How could that imperial prince bear to kill me? Jiu Xiaoyun could not help but loudly laugh. Indeed, little girl, you're so childish and pure. If that mysterious imperial prince catches you, he might do that to you. However, with how you don't have any breasts or buttocks, he might not be interested in you. Qing Muji puffed up her cheeks and glared at Jiu Xiaoyun as she said, That's right. You're the best at seducing people. Do you think that Qin's imperial prince was seduced by you? Jiu Xiaoyun coquettishly laughed as she said, Of course. I think you should go back. Qing Muji crossed her arms and lightly harumphed. I don't believe you. If you seduced him, you wouldn't be here. Humph. Is it because he doesn't like you, you vixen? Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Muji once again started to bicker. Bing Qixue sighed and looked at Gu Qingyue as he asked, now that the entire ancient STEM domain is on guard, are you going to stay here or return to the sect? Gu Qingyue thought about it before replying, I think we should go back. Based on the current situation, it seems that we won't be able to subdue Qin. I've seen that mysterious imperial prince before, and he's not a good person. His killing aura is too heavy, and he might really act against us. Back then, his power was already so terrifying, and in just a few years, he's become an existence that we can't even hope to reach, making us feel despair. Bing Qixue nodded as he said, it would have been great if those things had not happened back then, and things like this would not have happened. Gu Qingyue nodded and laughed as she said, now that things have come to this, there's no point in thinking about it. Also, I'll be leaving now. Following this, Gu Qingyue left. Bing Qixue thought about it and left a letter for Zhao Fu. If he changed his mind and wanted to work together with the Ice Origin Kingdom, he could find the Ice Origin Kingdom at any time, and the Ice Origin Kingdom could help him. Following this, Bing Qixue left. Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Muji did not leave, but they did not stay either. Instead, they headed to Qin, saying that they wanted to be guests at Qin City. In actuality, they wanted to stay at Qin City. This was because it was safer there, and that mysterious imperial prince would not dare to openly act in a kingdom's capital. They could also use this opportunity to convince Imperial Prince Qin City. Chapter 1836. Zhao Fu returned to Qin City in a good mood. He knew that the ancient sword sect's sect master had not died, and he felt that it was a pity that he had not been able to kill him. However, there was not much point in killing him now. Zhao Fu wanted to destroy the entire ancient sword sect and have the ancient sword sect's sect master personally witness its destruction. Only then would he feel even more pain and be able to vent his hatred. Zhao Fu had entered the emperor-killing sword world and found that the 1 million or so ancient sword sect disciples were immersed in the killing sword lake, continuously absorbing massive amounts of slaughtering qi. They slowly started to go through changes, and they would be able to go through sword obsession after some time. In actuality, sword obsession was far more terrifying than the alchemy giant. After they matured, even if they were blasted into dust, they would not die. Moreover, their attacks were incredibly powerful and unstoppable, and very few people would be a match for them. If 10 million people went into sword obsession, they would not have to fear hundreds of millions of soldiers, and would be able to slaughter them. Even though the emperor-killing sword did not have the power to cause a catastrophe, it was possible to create an army of people who went into sword obsession. Such an army would be incredibly terrifying, and would be of great help to Qin City. After returning to Qin City's imperial palace, Zhao Fu knew that Jiu Shaoyun and Qing Muji had stayed behind. After thinking about it, he did not mind too much. In actuality, Zhao Fu did not plan to kill these legatees, as they were near Qin City. If he killed them, it might have a negative effect on Qin City. Following this, Zhao Fu started to deal with administrative matters. There was not much for Qin City to do, so he could only wait for time to develop. Soon, it was time for the Emperor Path College to recruit students. The Rising Qin Academy's gate was made of wood, but it was carved with the image of a bright moon illuminating the mountains and rivers. It was extremely exquisite, and it gave off an ancient and poetic feeling. The words Rising Qin Academy were elegantly written on the plaque above the gate. The Rising Qin Academy was simple and elegant, and it was different from Qin City's murderous and domineering aura. Even though there was a martial institution, the Rising Qin Academy was more elegant. At that moment there was a sea of people in front of the Rising Qin Academy. There were students from previous years who had come back to study, and they were older. There were also parents who had brought their children to register, and they were younger. As mentioned before, there were many academies in the Qin Empire. However, the Rising Qin Academy was the #1 academy in the Qin Empire. It was established by Qin's Majesty himself. It was also the main production place for the civil and military officials of the Qin Empire. Countless people crazily wanted to send their children here, hoping that they would have a bright future and become officials of the Qin Academy. It wasn't just parents, even ordinary youths knew that those who entered the Rising Qin Academy could become generals or high-ranking officials in the future, so they all looked up to this place. The Rising Qin Academy was split into 2 classes. One was for children under 12 years old, and the other was for children over 12 years old. The Rising Qin Academy could be nurtured from a young age, allowing the children's talent and potential to develop. Of course, there was also an examination system, and those who did not meet the standards would be transferred out of the Rising Qin Academy. In other words, they would no longer be students of the Rising Qin Academy. Because there was only one Rising Qin Academy, there were so many people who wanted to enter, so the system was quite strict. If one was not outstanding, there was no need to continue nurturing them. Within a small village, an elderly man looked quite delighted as he put on new clothes and called out, "Lil cow, hurry up!" "Understood, Grandpa," a little boy's voice sounded out from within the room. Beside him, an elderly woman also looked quite happy as she said, "My grandson is about to go to the Rising Qin Academy to study. He'll definitely have a bright future. Also, old man, be careful when you take Lil cow to the imperial capital. There are too many major figures there. Also, we have to thank that lord. If it wasn't for him, how could Lil cow go to the Rising Qin Academy to study?" The elderly man smiled and nodded as he said, "I know, I'll definitely thank that lord properly." A little boy carrying a small bag happily ran out, and beside him was a delicate-looking woman who also smiled as she walked out. "Grandpa, let's go," the little boy said impatiently as he smiled and held the elderly man's hand. To him, an ordinary city was already quite grand, and now that they were going to the imperial capital, he was incredibly excited and curious about what it would be like. The elderly man smiled as he held the little boy's hand and walked forwards. After arriving at the village's teleportation channel, the elderly man and the little boy were teleported to a small town, then to a city, and then to a larger city. Finally, they arrived at the capital of the Qin Empire. Looking at the bustling crowds on the streets, the tall buildings around them, and the patrolling soldiers wearing black armor with cold expressions, the elderly man and the little boy felt quite shocked. Both grandfather and grandson were a little shocked. They felt that it was too prosperous and grand. The little boy was filled with innocence and curiosity as he ran towards the streets, wanting to see what the imperial capital of the Qin Empire was like. The elderly man hurriedly went up and pulled the little boy back. This was the imperial capital of the Qin Empire, and there were many people with high statuses. Even the ordinary residents were not people that these villagers could compare to, so it was best to be careful. Following this, the elderly man took the little boy's hand and started to walk on the street. The little boy grinned as he looked around, feeling quite curious about everything. A while later, the elderly man came to the imperial capital for the first time and did not know where the Rising Qin Academy was, so he could only hold the little boy's hand and ask a peddler, "Boss, can you tell me how to get to the Rising Qin Academy?" The peddler looked quite surprised and looked at the elderly man and the little boy as he smiled and said, "You're not from here, right? The Rising Qin Academy is in the northern part of the city, and it's quite far from here. You should find a carriage and go there, or else it'll take some time." The elderly man smiled gratefully as he said, "I understand. Thank you, boss." The peddler smiled as he said, "No need. Also, why are you taking your grandson to the Rising Qin Academy?" The elderly man happily smiled as he said, "My grandson is going to study at the Rising Qin Academy." The peddler looked at the little boy in shock as he said, "What? Your grandson is going to study at the Rising Qin Academy? That's a place that only geniuses from the Qin Empire can go to. Everyone who goes there has a chance of becoming a high-ranking official and being respected by others." The elderly man felt quite proud and smiled as he replied, "That's right." The peddler said in delight, "Then your grandson will become a big figure in the future. Do you want me to take you there?" The elderly man felt quite bad, but thinking about how big the imperial capital of the Qin Empire was, even if he knew where it was, it would take at least a day to find it, so he agreed. Following this, the peddler asked a young man next to him to help him take a look before leading the elderly man and his grandson away. Chapter 1837. The grandfather and grandson were quite surprised and excitedly nodded. "Little cow. This is Rising Qin Academy. You have to perform well here and don't disappoint us. Don't disappoint that lord, or else I won't forgive you." The elderly man held the little boy's hand and lowered his head as he said in a serious tone. The little boy earnestly nodded and replied, "Grandpa, I understand. I'll definitely perform well in Rising Qin Academy." At that moment, the luxuriously dressed little fatty passed by with a few servants. Hearing this, he felt quite displeased as he said, I don't believe that this little bumpkin can enter Rising Qin Academy." Hearing this, the little boy said angrily, "You little fatty! I'll be a student of Rising Qin Academy in the future. I don't need you to believe me." Hearing this, the little fatty felt quite angry and stretched out his chubby hand as he said, "Take it out and let me see your notice." The little boy looked quite confused as he asked, "What notice?" The little fatty loudly laughed as he said, "So you're a fake. You don't even know about the notice and want to come to Rising Qin Academy to study. Don't you know? Rising Qin Academy will give out a notice to those who pass the examination, and with this you can study at the academy." The little fatty delightedly stretched out his hand towards the servant. The servant took out a silver-white booklet and handed it to the little fatty. The little fatty held the booklet and waved it in front of the little boy, saying, "Do you see this? This is the notice. I'm called Qian Wuli, and my grade is S grade. Moreover, I've already read quite a few books. Don't you think I'm super amazing?" The little boy felt quite shocked and nodded as he said, "You're indeed amazing. My grade is only B grade and I don't know many words." Hearing the little boy's approval, the little fatty happily smiled and did not hate the little boy as much anymore. He went up and patted the little boy's shoulder as he said, "I kind of like you now. Be my little book attendant. I'll show you what Rising Qin Academy is like, and I'll give you 50 silver coins every month." The little boy immediately refused, saying, "I don't want to, I'm here to study. I'm going to be a general in the future." The little fatty said in disbelief, "You don't even have a notice. How can you study at Rising Qin Academy?" The little boy replied, "An adult who can fly came to our village. He gave me a token and said that I could come here to study." When the little fatty heard this, he still didn't believe it and said, "Then which lord gave it to you? I want to see what that token looks like." The little boy turned to the old man and said, "Grandpa, take out the token the lord gave me." Of course, the old man wouldn't take it out. That token was made of black gold, which was enough to prove how noble the person was. How could such a precious thing be displayed in front of everyone? Furthermore, the old man saw that the little fatty had brought a few servants with him. His identity was obviously not simple. He wasn't someone they could afford to offend at all. He smiled and said, "Young master, my grandson doesn't know any better. Please don't argue with him." After saying that, the old man pulled the little boy forward. The little boy was pulled forward by his grandfather. He looked a little unhappy, but he didn't struggle or say anything. The little fatty lightly harumphed and felt quite displeased, but he didn't do anything. After all, this was Rising Qin Academy's main gates, and no one dared to act recklessly here. As such, he followed behind the old man. The old man pulled the little boy to the main gates and was stopped by a black-armored soldier. "Show me your notice." Hearing this, the old man felt quite surprised and said, "We don't have a notice." The Qin soldier coldly said, "Then please leave. You can't enter without a notice or a pass." Hearing this, the little fatty smiled. He had told them that they needed a notice, yet they dared to come without one. They would definitely be stopped. The vendor looked at the old man, feeling quite unsure as to whether the old man had lied to him or not. The old man felt quite troubled and hesitated before saying, "I don't have a notice or a pass, but a lord said that if you have his token, you can come to Rising Qin Academy to study." The Qin soldier thought about it and said, "Please show me your token." As such, the old man took out an item wrapped in cloth. The little fatty, the vendor, and everyone else's gazes were filled with curiosity as they looked at the item wrapped in cloth. The old man carefully and slowly opened the cloth, revealing a palm-sized, black gold token with a ferocious and domineering black dragon carved on it. Seeing this token, the Qin soldier's expression fell and he hurriedly half-knelt on the ground as he respectfully said, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live His Majesty." Seeing this token, the other Qin soldiers' expressions also fell as they half-knelt on the ground and said, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live His Majesty." Immediately, everyone's gazes fell on the token in the old man's hand. Even though they didn't know what token it was, they could tell who it belonged to based on the Qin soldier's expression. There was only one person who could make the Qin soldier act like this, and that was Qin's Majesty. Thinking to there, everyone's expressions fell as they hurriedly knelt on the ground and respectfully said, "Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live His Majesty." The vendor's voice was so loud that it shook the surroundings. He didn't expect that the lord the old man mentioned was His Majesty. He quickly knelt down as well. "Young master, kneel." The servants behind the little fatty knelt on the ground and pulled the little fatty, who was looking at the token in surprise. The little fatty also came to his senses and knelt on the ground. He didn't expect that the little boy had a relationship with His Majesty Qin. He couldn't help but feel a bit envious, because that was His Majesty Qin. Qin was the most distinguished person in the Qin kingdom. Not only them, but the little boy and the old man were also shocked. They didn't expect that the person who came to their small village was the Majesty of the entire Qin kingdom. Seeing everyone kneeling on the ground, the old man raised the token and pulled the little boy to kneel on the ground. He didn't dare to stand while holding the token given by His Majesty Qin. After a while, the soldier said respectfully, "Sir, you'd better stand up first. You can go in now." The old man stood up with the token in his hand. If he didn't stand up, no one present would dare to stand up. This was the majesty of His Majesty Qin and the respect of many people to His Majesty Qin. Chapter 1838. The elderly man felt quite uncomfortable being surrounded by so many people, as he could tell that these people were all quite extraordinary. Some of them tried to curry favor with him. "Sir, can you give me some face? I want to treat you to a meal and give you some gift. I hope you can agree." "Sir, I have a jade pendant here that's worth a few thousand silver coins. If you like it, I can give it to you." "Uncle, you are really lucky to have met our Majesty in person. Your grandson also looks pretty good. I have a granddaughter who is very beautiful. Why don't we get married?" The elderly man looked quite troubled and felt quite uncomfortable. He understood why these people were trying to curry favor with him. Seeing this, the soldiers went up and blocked those people as they said, "Sir, you should go in first." Hearing this, the elderly man nodded and understood that he could not stay here. The little fatty smiled and went up and put his arm around the little boy's shoulder as he said, "Let's be good friends. I'll treat you to a good meal." Even though the little fatty was young, he was quite smart. The person in front of him was someone who had connections to His Majesty Qin, and that person was a major figure. Ordinary people like them did not even have the right to meet His Majesty. The little boy happily nodded and did not refuse. Within the Qin Imperial Palace, Zhao Fu was reading through memorials when a soldier came in and reported that an elderly man and a child had come to the Rising Qin Academy with his command medallion. Zhao Fu smiled and naturally knew who it was, but he did not say anything. He had given him an opportunity, and it was up to him to see how he would perform in the future. Zhao Fu did not pay too much attention to this matter, and he once again focused on his political affairs. A while later, another Qin soldier came in and reported that there were changes in the Devil World. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and immediately thought of something. He smiled and soon arrived at the Devil World. The Devil World had expanded many times, and there was a square barrier separating the Devil World from the normal world. That place was incredibly twisted and cruel, and it contained devil qi that could cause creatures to mutate. Before Zhao Fu even entered the fiend world, he could already hear terrifying cries echoing in all directions, sending chills down his spine. Hearing those cries, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear and instead smiled as he entered the Devil World. On the blood-red sky and the black earth, terrifying people were undergoing terrifying mutations. A person lay on the ground and howled as scales grew out of his body. His back bulged and gradually became bigger as a pair of bat wings grew out of his body and a powerful aura spread out. A person covered his face with both hands as he screamed. His eyes and nose had disappeared, leaving behind only a large mouth with fangs growing out. That person also stopped screaming and let out a strange laugh. A person roared towards the sky and held a sword. His eyes became black and his body gave off a blood-red aura. His appearance became completely cold, and he gave off a powerful aura, making him look like a murderous demon. A person screamed as his body quickly grew. His body became 3 meters tall and his hands became sharp claws. His face became savage and a tail grew out from his back, and his body gave off a ferocious aura. After Zhao Fu came to the Devil World, Mama Jiggery smiled as she came up and said, "Congratulations, Your Majesty." Tamamonome flirtatiously smiled as she hugged Zhao Fu and said coquettishly, "Your Majesty, these people have finally completed their transformations. These people have finally completed their transformations and will be a very powerful force for Great Qin. We've spent a lot of effort on this. You can properly reward us later." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, with the current situation, they are indeed very important to Qin. After such a long time, we've finally transformed them. I know that you've spent a lot of effort, and I'll properly reward you later." Tamamonome happily hugged Zhao Fu and lightly nodded. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he hugged Tamamonome and brought Mama Jiggery and the other devil leaders to the mutated people. These people could no longer be called people but a group of devils. They looked all different and were incredibly terrifying. These people's origins were not simple at all. They had been soldiers of the Aeolian Empire, and all of them had Stage 3 cultivation. Before, the First Aeolian Empire had fought against Qin but had been defeated by Qin. Before, it would have been very difficult for Qin to defend against the Aeolian Empire because they were all Stage 3 soldiers and had Emperor Heaven Realm experts. The decisive reason why Qin had defeated the Aeolian Empire was because Qin had used a teleportation formation to send 1.5 billion Wind God soldiers into the Devil World. Back then, Qin had only used his devil qi to suppress them but did not turn them into devils. They all had Stage 3 cultivation, so how could it be so easy to transform them? As such, Qin took a long time to transform them. During this period of time, the devil leaders continuously activated the devil formation and gathered countless traces of devil qi to send into the Aeolian Empire soldiers' bodies, causing them to turn into devils. Even though the devil leaders gathered the devil qi day and night to transform them, it still took them a long time to finally succeed. Even though there were only 1.5 billion of these devils, they all had Stage 3 cultivation from the start, which was equivalent to 15 billion Stage 1 soldiers. Now that they had become devils, their power was not only strange, but it was also more brutal and more powerful than ordinary Stage 3 soldiers. As such, these 1.5 billion devils were equivalent to 16 billion Stage 1 soldiers. Now that Qin had gained 16 billion soldiers, with Qin's current situation, he needed a large number of soldiers. How could Zhao Fu not feel delighted after suddenly gaining so many soldiers? Back when he had heard about the Devil World's abnormal changes, Zhao Fu had thought of this. Zhao Fu used the Devil Lord's power to gather the devils in front of him. They were densely packed like a flood, and it was impossible to see how many there were. However, these devils had just been transformed and were too wild. They gave off powerful auras and gave off low roars as if they wanted to challenge Zhao Fu. However, Zhao Fu did not feel any fear, and a terrifying power exploded out from his body as a black and blood-red aura flame appeared around him. A powerful might descended, pressing down on the countless devils' bodies like a massive hand. Those wild monsters had faces full of fear. Their bodies trembled as they knelt on the ground. None of them dared to stand. Now, Zhao Fu not only used the Devil Lord's power but also his divine bloodline's power, causing the devils to feel extreme terror. They did not even have the courage to resist. Chapter 1839. After looking at the devil army, Zhao Fu smiled. Now, Qin felt much more confident, and he did not feel as much fear facing the Fire Kingdom and Devil Horn Empire. Not too long after returning to the Qin Imperial Palace, news came from the underworld that they had discovered another historical remnant. The monsters inside were quite dangerous, and with Huang Quanling and the others' strength, they would not be able to deal with them. From the historical remnant, it seemed that it was a godly spirit historical remnant. Now, Qin was only 3 godly spirits away from being able to open the divine spirit door and go to the godly spirit world. Zhao Fu was quite curious about that place. Perhaps he would be able to find a large amount of time attribute items. It was quite difficult to obtain time attribute items in the underworld and Heaven Awakened worlds because the requirements to form them were quite harsh. However, it would be relatively easier to obtain them in the godly spirit world. For example, there were many godly spirits that controlled time, and with their abilities, they would be able to create many time attribute items. After opening the divine spirit door, they would be able to obtain time attribute items from them. That way, Qin would be able to mass-produce Philosopher's Stones, and Qin's overall strength would greatly increase. Qin's Stage 1 soldiers would also be able to become commonplace. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu quickly went to the underworld. Huang Quanling smiled as she leaned against Zhao Fu and said, "Husband, you're here. You're here." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded before asking, "Where is that historical remnant? What are the specifics?" Huang Quanling replied, "It's at a boundary region." A small faction that just submitted to the Yellow Springs Kingdom reported this information. They accidentally discovered this historical remnant but did not have the ability to explore it, so they reported it to us. The Yellow Springs Empress and I tried the historical remnant, and the ghosts within were very powerful. There were also all sorts of restrictions, and with our strength we could only explore it for a bit before retreating. Hearing this, Zhao Fu nodded and said, "Take me there then." Huang Quanling smiled and nodded before bringing Zhao Fu to the historical remnant. This historical remnant was located in a very deep canyon, and light could not reach this place. It was completely dark all around, and there was not even a trace of sound. It gave off a chilling feeling, making people feel quite terrified. Huang Quanling hugged Zhao Fu's arm and waved her hand, causing a blue fireball to appear, giving off a faint blue light that lit up the surroundings. The two of them continued onwards and came to the deepest part of the canyon. There was a massive bronze door here, and there was a powerful monster carved on it. It wore armor and held a saber in one hand and a sword in the other, giving off a ferocious aura. Huang Quanling let go of Zhao Fu's arm and pressed a hand on the door. A wave of power surged out from her palm and flowed into the large bronze door. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the bronze doors gave off light and a powerful aura as they slowly opened. Zhao Fu said to Huang Quanling, "You stay here, I'll go in and take a look." Huang Quanling smiled and nodded. She knew how terrifying this historical remnant was, so she did not want to go in and make trouble for Zhao Fu. After entering, Zhao Fu felt quite wary. It was a very large space inside, and the walls were made of brick. It was quite dark inside, but Zhao Fu's eyes were quite special and he could see things in the darkness. There were indeed many restrictions here, and not only could one not use their nation armaments, but they could also suppress one's cultivation. Zhao Fu was originally a great Earth Realm cultivator, but he was now suppressed to the Saint Realm. Moreover, with the divine bloodline weakening the restrictions, his cultivation would have been suppressed even more. Suddenly, a group of well-built monsters wearing armor and holding weapons gave off powerful auras as they rushed over. Zhao Fu's expression did not change as he took out the emperor-killing sword and lightly cried out, "Sword Master!" Xing! A massive wave of sword chi flowed out from the emperor-killing sword and spread out, bringing with it a sword wind. The 10 or so monsters gave off immense power as they leapt into the air and raised their weapons as they hacked towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu vigorously swung the sword in his hand and a massive sword light slashed out, giving off terrifying power as it slashed forwards, cutting the 10 or so monsters into countless pieces. The surrounding monsters continuously flooded over, and Zhao Fu continuously slashed out, cutting the monsters into pieces without feeling any pressure at all. However, a while later, Zhao Fu found that something was off. The chopped-up corpses had all disappeared, and the monsters giving off powerful auras did not decrease at all. These monsters were not corporeal, nor were they created by formations. They were illusions. No wonder Huang Quanling and the others were unable to break out of this place. If they could not find the source, no matter how many monsters they killed, it would be useless. The monsters would just endlessly attack and exhaust their strength. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu sent a wave of power into the glass pupil in his left eye. The glass pupil opened and gave off a glass light, and Zhao Fu looked at the monsters. The monsters in front of him had all changed. They were no longer monsters but balls of gray gas. These were not illusions but monsters created by a formation. Roar! 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 At that moment, the monsters gave off powerful roars as they flooded towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu sent a massive wave of power into the sword, causing it to give off boundless light. A terrifying sword chi spread out, and looking at the incoming monsters, Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out. Boom! An incredibly terrifying sword energy, bringing with it the power of a thunderbolt, slashed towards the ghosts. The ghosts were slashed into countless pieces, and the ground was dyed red with blood. However, within Zhao Fu's glass pupil, the pieces of flesh turned into gas and started to condense. Soon, more monsters were formed. At that moment, Zhao Fu took out a crystal sword. This sword was called the Heaven Sealing Sword, and it had powerful sealing power. However, Zhao Fu did not use it often. An intense wave of power entered the Heaven Sealing Sword, causing it to explode out with terrifying power and give off an intense sword light. Zhao Fu held the sword and vigorously stabbed it into the ground. Boom! The sword stabbed into the ground, and a 10-meter wide magic formation giving off a powerful aura rose up from the ground. A massive sealing power gave off an unstoppable aura and instantly spread out. The countless devil ghosts ferociously charging at Zhao Fu turned into balls of black aura and were absorbed into the ground. Not a single devil ghost was able to resist, and in just a few moments, all of the devil ghosts disappeared and the surroundings became empty again. The magic formation had been forcefully sealed by Zhao Fu, and it could no longer create monsters. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and drew out the heaven-sealing sword. However, he left the magic formation behind and continued to seal the countless monsters. Chapter 1840. After walking for a while, Zhao Fu came before a bronze door. This bronze door was at the center of the space, and it was 10 meters tall. It gave off an ancient and cold aura, and there were countless armored and weapon-wielding ghosts carved on it. Zhao Fu went up and took a look and found that this was the source of the ghost. This door was known as the Ghost Door, and the evil spirits that had appeared before were all products of this door. Moreover, this door was a powerful treasure. Not only did it have powerful defensive abilities, but it also had the ability to condense a large number of ghosts. It also had a ghost domain, and anyone who entered the domain would be weakened. The reason why Zhao Fu's cultivation had been weakened just then was because of this ghost door. Zhao Fu felt that this ghost door was quite useful, and he gave a trace of a smile. He waved his hand and put the ghost door into his spatial ring before continuing onwards. Following this, Zhao Fu did not encounter anything else and arrived before another door. This door was the same as the one he had come from, and Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and sent out a wave of power to push the door open. Behind the door was a very large space, but the scene was a bit strange. This was because there were many bronze doors in that space. These bronze doors were 3 meters tall and about 2 meters wide. There was also a ferocious ghost carved on the door. It looked a little different. Some looked like a leopard, some looked like a human, some looked like a cow, and some looked like a man. There were roughly 1,000 bronze doors, and they stood on the ground, giving off an eerie and strange aura. Zhao Fu started to be careful. This place was evidently not simple and seemed quite strange. After thinking for a while, Zhao Fu walked towards the corners of the space. The doors were all in the center, and there were no doors in the corners. If he went around, he would be able to go around the bronze doors. However, things were different to what Zhao Fu had expected. Just as Zhao Fu stepped in, the doors gave off a faint light and started to move. They lined up and ghosts giving off powerful auras walked out. These ghosts were very powerful and all had Saint Realm strength. Now that Zhao Fu was no longer suppressed by the ghost door, his strength had returned to the Earth Realm. Facing these powerful ghosts, Zhao Fu did not feel much fear and held the Emperor Killing Sword as he walked towards them. The ghosts looked at Zhao Fu coldly and cruelly, and their bodies moved as they charged at Zhao Fu. They were incredibly fast, and in just a few moments, they had arrived in front of Zhao Fu. Boom! Zhao Fu exploded out with all of his power, and a terrifying aura exploded out, bringing with it a massive gale that sent the monsters flying back. The ghosts were 10 or so meters away from Zhao Fu and surrounded Zhao Fu. Their expressions became serious as they understood how terrifying Zhao Fu was. A humanoid ghost roared and charged at Zhao Fu. It quickly reached Zhao Fu, and a ghostly claw containing immense power grabbed towards Zhao Fu, seeming to want to tear Zhao Fu apart. However, Zhao Fu held the Emperor Killing Sword and sent a powerful wave of power into it, causing the Emperor Killing Sword to give off an intense sword light. Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, and a sharp sword light slashed out, cutting the ghost in half. Swish, 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 a few ghosts quickly arrived in front of Zhao Fu and gave off immense power as they started to attack Zhao Fu and Zhao Fu. A tiger-like ghost ferociously leapt at Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu kicked it away. A snake-like ghost shot out like lightning, and Zhao Fu dodged to the side, avoiding this attack. A humanoid ghost ferociously punched towards Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu's sword gave off a sword light as he chopped off its head. A wolf-like ghost attacked Zhao Fu from behind, but Zhao Fu spun and slashed out, splitting the ghost in half. 10 or so monsters gave off powerful auras as they leapt into the air and attacked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword and sent a powerful wave of power into it, causing it to give off boundless sword light. He vigorously slashed out, and a crescent containing shocking power flew out in all directions. Chi, the monster that leaped into the air was directly sliced in half by the sword light, and blood splattered on the ground. Roar, roar, roar. At that moment, the countless ghosts roared and gave off ferocious auras as they leapt into the air and sprang at Zhao Fu. Facing the countless ghosts, Zhao Fu's gaze was cold as he lightly cried out, "Celestial mode. Activate." A celestial-like aura exploded out from Zhao Fu's body as a rainbow-colored aura flame appeared. A rainbow-colored magic formation appeared on Zhao Fu's forehead, and his eyes gave off a rainbow-colored light as a rainbow-colored rune circle appeared. Looking at the countless ghosts charging at him, Zhao Fu gave a trace of a cruel smile and stretched out his hand towards them. A powerful wave of energy gathered in his palm, causing it to give off an intense rainbow-colored light, and he vigorously pushed out. The rainbow-colored rune circle around Zhao Fu's body gave off a terrifying power and spun a few times before giving off shocking power and instantly expanding outward. Chi, the countless ghosts were directly cut in half by the rainbow-colored light, and none of them were able to resist at all. Dismembered corpses and blood fell like rain, covering the ground, looking incredibly bloody and cruel. However, these dismembered corpses turned into gray aura that flowed into the bronze doors. Boom, 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 the bronze doors gave off powerful auras and intense ghostly lights, and ghosts once again came out. Zhao Fu's eyes slightly narrowed. Just like the bronze doors from before, these ghosts could not be killed, and he needed to find their true bodies. Swish, 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 the terrifying ghosts gave off ferocious auras and once again charged at Zhao Fu. They were different from before, and they seemed to contain a trace of power similar to Zhao Fu's. However, it was only a trace because Zhao Fu's body's power could not be replicated by anything. Seeing the incoming ghosts, Zhao Fu half-squatted on the ground and pressed a hand against the ground. A massive rainbow-colored energy flowed into the ground, and a rainbow-colored magic formation appeared as the golden pupil in Zhao Fu's left eye quickly spun. Clang, 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 the rainbow-colored chains gave off immense power as they shot towards the ghosts incredibly quickly. The ghosts' bodies were pierced by the chains, and they gave off pained cries. After piercing through the ghosts, the rainbow-colored chains did not stop and shot towards the bronze doors behind them, quickly binding them. The bronze doors gave off terrifying power and gave off intense light, wanting to break free from the rainbow-colored chains. The chains gave off powerful sealing power and slowly sealed the bronze doors. Chapter 1841. Zhao Fu went up and looked at the bronze door's stats, and he found that not only could they release ghosts, but they could also copy other powers. However, they could not copy powers that were too high grade. For example, those ghosts only had a trace of power similar to Zhao Fu's and could not truly copy Zhao Fu's power. Even though they could not copy high-grade powers, they could still copy ordinary experts' powers. As long as the doors were not destroyed, the ghosts would not be able to truly kill them. Zhao Fu felt that this ability was quite good. Zhao Fu put them away and decided to go back and refine them for himself. Zhao Fu continued onwards. He still did not encounter anything, and Zhao Fu came to a massive cave. It was even darker ahead, and it gave off a faint might as well as a godly spirit's aura. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. He could tell that there was a godly spirit ahead. After walking into the cave, Zhao Fu walked for 10 or so minutes, and he once again came to a large space. This place was tens of thousands of meters wide and 1,000 meters tall. The ground was quite empty, and there was a 100-meter-tall stage at the center. There was a throne at the top, and there was a woman sitting on it. The woman had a graceful figure and wore black armor. She had long, green hair and her eyes were closed. She was quite beautiful and gave off a powerful aura. Her aura was also quite powerful, and she gave off a dense godly spirit aura. There was a bronze saber stabbed into the ground next to her, which gave off a faint green light and a sharp aura. There were bronze doors floating above the space. Each door was 3 meters tall and 3 meters wide, and they gave off faint green light and auras. There were over 10,000 of them, and they looked quite majestic. Zhao Fu walked in. The woman slowly opened her green eyes and looked at Zhao Fu as she said, "Who are you? You actually dared to barge in here." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he said, "I'm the ruler of the Qin Empire and the true ruler of the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Also, what godly spirit are you?" The woman slightly frowned and found that Zhao Fu was not simple at all. She replied, "I'm the guardian god of the Ghost Gates. You've disturbed my slumber, so please leave." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Sure. But I want to take you with me. How about you submit to me now? I'll give you everything you want." The woman felt quite angry and coldly replied, "I'm a godly spirit. How could I become you?" Zhao Fu chuckled, and his tone turned cold. "Then you can't blame me." Clang clang clang, chains containing immense power shot out from where Zhao Fu was and quickly shot towards the woman. The woman's expression became cold as she grabbed the bronze saber and sent a powerful wave of godly spirit power into it. She rushed up and vigorously slashed out, causing a massive saber light to slash out, cutting the countless chains into countless pieces. Zhao Fu held the emperor-killing sword and gave off a powerful aura as he turned into a ray of light and rushed in front of the woman. His sword gave off a sharp sword light as he slashed towards the woman. The woman raised her saber and blocking Zhao Fu's sword. Zhao Fu put the sword away and once again slashed out with terrifying power and a sharp sword wind towards the woman. The woman sent a wave of godly spirit power into her saber, causing it to give off an azure light as she vigorously slashed out. Clang! The two weapons clashed together, resulting in the sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew everywhere as a gale spread out. The woman retreated a few steps and her expression was quite unsightly. She found that she was not a match for Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu coldly laughed as he said, "Now that you know the difference in strength between us, it's best to surrender as soon as possible to avoid suffering." The woman angrily harumphed and raised a hand. A wave of power flowed out as the bronze doors in the sky gave off azure light and gave off terrifying power as they smashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out again and again, destroying the incoming bronze doors, causing countless fragments to fly everywhere. The woman stretched out her hand and spun, causing the bronze doors in the air to give off shocking power as they smashed towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu once again activated celestial mode, and a rainbow-colored aura flame erupted around his body as a rainbow-colored ring of runes floated out. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and the ring of runes flew above Zhao Fu, giving off shocking power and forming a circular energy shield. Bang! 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 The bronze doors smashed against the circular energy barrier, causing massive sounds to ring out. Strong gales spread out, but the circular energy barrier blocked the countless bronze doors. The woman looked quite startled. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would be able to block the countless bronze doors so easily. Following this, the woman rushed at Zhao Fu and slashed towards Zhao Fu with shocking power. Zhao Fu disdainfully swung his sword, and a rainbow-colored sword light containing terrifying power sent the woman flying back. She crashed to the ground and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Looking at the bronze doors, Zhao Fu vigorously pushed and the circular energy shield sent the countless bronze doors flying. The woman got up from the ground and exploded out with a terrifying aura as she sent large amounts of power into the saber in her hand. The saber gave off a blinding saber light and an intense saber wind that spread out. Boom! The woman vigorously slashed out and a massive saber light containing terrifying power slashed towards Zhao Fu, seeming to be able to destroy everything. Zhao Fu raised the emperor-killing sword and a massive wave of power entered it. The emperor-killing sword burned with a rainbow-colored aura flame, forming an intense sword wind. The sword wind ferociously blew out in all directions. Xing! Zhao Fu vigorously slashed out, and a massive rainbow-colored sword light containing power that seemed to be able to slash apart everything slashed towards the woman. Bang! The two attacks collided, resulting in a massive explosion. A powerful shockwave blasted out, instantly destroying the ground. Zhao Fu's body released a rainbow-colored energy shield, blocking the shockwave. The woman was sent flying back, and coughed up a large mouthful of blood, unable to even get up. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he walked towards the woman. The woman's face was pale as she cried out, "Don't come over!" Zhao Fu smiled and ignored her words as he continued to walk towards her. The woman tried to stand up with great difficulty, but it seemed to be incredibly difficult. Zhao Fu walked in front of her, and a wave of energy restricted her power before lifting her up and walking out. The woman vigorously struggled as she cried out, "You bastard, let go of me!" Zhao Fu did not mind and continued to walk outside. He planned to bring her back to Qin before subduing her. Soon, Zhao Fu walked out with the woman's body. Chapter 1842. After returning to Qin City, Zhao Fu quickly ordered people to help the goddess of protection repair the temple and carve a statue before throwing her inside and saying, "I can now give you a large amount of faith power. Will you consider submitting to me?" The goddess of protection coldly harumphed. Even though she was quite tempted by faith power, she would not easily submit to Zhao Fu. Moreover, Zhao Fu's attitude towards her was quite bad. She was a godly spirit, a high and mighty godly spirit who was respected by countless people, and no one had ever treated her like this before. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "Do you really want me to use certain methods to make you submit?" The goddess of protection coldly looked at Zhao Fu without any fear. Zhao Fu did not do much either. He waved his hand and a few chains shot out, binding the goddess of protection's hands together and hanging her up. He first used his god-killing power to turn into lightning and hit the goddess of protection's body. The god-killing power could suppress godly spirits and could cause great pain to godly spirit. The goddess of protection hung in the air, enduring the pain, and looked stubbornly at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that she would endure such intense pain and not submit. Zhao Fu did not use his god-killing power and opened his hand, causing 6 orbs of demonic qi to float around his palm. Zhao Fu smiled as he walked towards the goddess of protection. The goddess of protection had a bad feeling and hurriedly called out, "What are you doing?" Zhao Fu did not reply and walked in front of her. He stretched out his hand and pressed against her abdomen, causing the 6 orbs of demonic qi to flow into her body. The goddess of protection's face immediately became red and she started to pant. Now that she knew what Zhao Fu had done to her, she angrily cursed, "Perverted thief." Zhao Fu ignored her and smiled as he looked at her. In the end, the god of protection's reaction became more and more intense. His face turned red, and his body twisted in the air. There was already a puddle of water on the ground. In the end, the guardian god begged Zhao Fu for mercy and was willing to submit to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled as he sealed the 6 desires demonic qi and started to ask about her. She was the guardian god of the Ghost Gate, and she was actually a door god, a type of Ghost Gate god in the underworld. She received relatively little faith, and most people did not pay much attention to her. She was mainly in charge of guarding a certain place, and she had great defensive power. Zhao Fu also understood. No wonder there were so many bronze doors in the ruins. Turned out to be a ghost door god. At the same time, the Ghost Gate god also mastered the method of making the bronze door. With her help, Qin could also make the bronze door. Zhao Fu also felt that developing her power would be of great use to Qin. After all, she was the Ghost Gate god and could build bronze doors. Zhao Fu could use her power to increase Qin's defensive power. Zhao Fu looked at the Ghost Gate god, whose face was still red, and he smiled as he said, "I said that if you surrendered earlier, you wouldn't have to suffer." The Ghost Gate god did not say anything. She had never thought that she would choose to submit to Zhao Fu. She could only blame Zhao Fu for being too despicable. Zhao Fu continued to smile as he said, "In the future, you can stay here and absorb faith power. I'll also send a few god messengers over. Don't worry, submitting to Qin will be of great benefit to you." The Ghost Gate god turned her face away, not wanting to see Zhao Fu's expression. Seeing this, Zhao Fu felt quite displeased and walked forwards. The Ghost Gate god immediately said in fear, "This god understands and will listen to Qin's orders. Don't use that kind of method against this god." After going through that kind of torture, not only had her body been destroyed, but her mind had also been destroyed. Thinking about doing it with the man in front of her, she felt quite afraid. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a satisfied smile and turned to leave. Seeing Zhao Fu leave, the Ghost Gate god let out a sigh of relief. Following this, a few beautiful ghost race women came up and knelt. They were the god messengers. Following this, many of Qin's residents came to pay their respects and provide faith power. Sensing the endless faith power, the Ghost Gate god felt quite delighted. She turned into a ray of light and shot into the statue, quickly absorbing the faith power. Zhao Fu returned to the Qin's imperial palace. After taking care of some matters, he thought about how he could deal with some matters in the underworld. Before, the 4 factions of the underworld had allied together to attack the Yellow Springs Kingdom, but they had failed. The Ghost Tiger Kingdom in the west had been destroyed by the Yellow Springs Kingdom, but there were still 3 factions that had not been dealt with. Back then, because Qin's forces had been quite tight and it had devoured all of the factions in the west, it had obtained a large number of people and resources. As such, Zhao Fu had stopped attacking those 3 factions. Now that so much time had passed, the Yellow Springs Kingdom had completely digested the western factions, and there were no battles in Qin. There were no battles in the Heaven Awakened world, the Outer world, or the Alchemy world, so they could send out forces to destroy those 3 factions. The Yellow Springs Kingdom's population had reached 40 billion or so, which was as big as 2 worlds. Now that they had digested the western factions, their population had reached 50 billion, and their territory was as big as 2.5 worlds. If they could destroy those 3 factions, the Yellow Springs Kingdom's forces would greatly increase. Thinking about that, Zhao Fu quickly led his soldiers to the Yellow Springs Kingdom. After coming to the Yellow Springs Kingdom, Zhao Fu did not immediately act and instead investigated the situation of the 3 factions. Ever since their last defeat, the 3 factions had adopted defensive measures. Not only had they built tall and thick defensive walls, but they had also roped in more factions to join them. Now, each faction had 3 billion soldiers, and the 3 factions had a total of 9 billion soldiers. The Yellow Springs Kingdom originally had 4 billion soldiers, and after devouring the western factions, it had gained another billion soldiers, making it 5 billion soldiers. This time, Zhao Fu had brought 3 billion soldiers. Even though it was not as many as the other side, Zhao Fu had brought many beasts, so the Yellow Springs Kingdom was in an advantageous position. Zhao Fu immediately made preparations to attack. He split his forces into 3 groups and simultaneously attacked the 3 factions. The various factions of the Yellow Springs Kingdom also started to move, providing resources and preparations for this battle. This allowed the army to fight at full strength. With such a big movement, the 3 factions immediately noticed it and fell into panic. Ever since they had lost last time, they had been worried that the Yellow Springs Kingdom would attack, and now, it had finally come. However, the 3 factions did not have the same opinion. Some felt that they could not defeat the Yellow Springs Kingdom, so they wanted to see if they could ask for peace and give up some benefits in exchange for their safety. Others insisted on fighting. They understood the Yellow Springs Kingdom's ambitions and would not let them off. Only by fighting would they have a trace of safety, and they felt that the situation was advantageous to them. Chapter 1843. The people on both sides started to move, gathering a large number of soldiers to defend the defensive walls, and some people also sent people to ask for peace. Zhao Fu did not refuse and received them. When these people came in and saw Zhao Fu, they felt quite surprised. They knew that the Yellow Springs Kingdom had a terrifying faction supporting it, and that faction was from the Heaven Awakened world. They did not know what the relationship between the Yellow Springs Kingdom and that faction was. It could be a partnership or a subsidiary, or perhaps that faction was the true ruler of the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Seeing that it was Zhao Fu who received them while the Yellow Springs Queen just stood by his side, they could deduce that the Yellow Springs Kingdom was either a subsidiary or a puppet controlled by that faction. They had thought that they would be able to see the Yellow Springs Queen and had brought 100 or so handsome men, and they had planned to share them with the 12 Yellow Springs Queens. However, it seemed that the high and mighty Yellow Springs Queen was also that faction's plaything. They naturally did not dare to say that they were going to give up the handsome men. However, even if they did not say it, Zhao Fu already knew because they had brought the 100 or so handsome men to the Yellow Springs Kingdom. Zhao Fu sat at the top and said, "What do you want? Hurry up and say it." There were 3 messengers below, and they were all middle-aged. One of them bowed to Zhao Fu and smiled as he said, "We have no intention of fighting with your powerful Yellow Springs Kingdom, so please don't start a war. We will satisfy all of your requests." Zhao Fu could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Back then, they had attacked first, and if it wasn't for Qin, the Yellow Springs Kingdom might have been split up by them. Now that they were facing the even more powerful Yellow Springs Kingdom, they were saying that they did not want to fight and that they would let them off this time. How could there be such a good thing in this world? Zhao Fu did not show any expression and smiled as he said, "What I want the most is naturally your 3 factions' population and territory. As long as you're willing to submit to the Yellow Springs Kingdom, I'll definitely treat you well. However, if you dare to resist, you'll know the consequences." The 3 people looked quite troubled. They definitely could not agree to this request. The messenger said, "Sir, we can't do what you want. Apart from this, what else does Sir want?" Zhao Fu's expression turned cold as he shook his head. The 3 people's hearts sank and they dryly laughed as they said, "We're willing to immediately go back and pick over 10,000 beauties, treasures, and resources to give to our people. Sir, please reconsider." Zhao Fu was no longer interested in them and said, "You can all go back. I have only one request: submit or perish." The 3 of them returned to their factions with ugly expressions. At the same time, Zhao Fu started to attack, not giving them any time to breathe. The 3 armies gave off massive auras as they flooded towards the 3 factions like 3 ferocious floods. Zhao Fu led the soldiers in charge of attacking the east. The other 2 armies were handed over to the Yellow Springs Queens and the generals to attack. On the other side, the 3 armies gathered on the city walls, waiting for Zhao Fu's army to attack. Both sides did not have much to say. Zhao Fu immediately launched an attack. Xiao xiao xiao, arrows containing great power quickly flew out, drawing arcs in the air as they shot towards the city walls like a torrential downpour. Charge! Qin's soldiers roared and gave off terrifying auras as they flooded forwards. Boom! A massive aura spread out on the defensive wall as a massive blue energy barrier containing immense power appeared. Bang! 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 The countless arrows that were shot over were either deflected or broken, falling down like rain. Swish, swish, swish. On the defensive side, the Mountain Charm Kingdom shot out arrows, which contained immense force as they flew towards Great Qin's soldiers. They were densely packed and formed a black mass. Great Qin's army exploded out with shocking power, giving off countless rays of black light that formed a black barrier in front of them, blocking all of the incoming arrows. Zhao Fu looked at the firm defensive barrier and ordered his soldiers to push out countless ballistae. Arrows that were as thick as fingers were placed on the ballistae, and there were talisman stones embedded into them. Boom, boom, boom. The arrows turned into countless rays of light as they shot out, bringing with them an incredibly sharp aura as they shot towards the city walls. They were incredibly fast, leaving behind white traces and bringing with them strong gales. Bang, 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 a series of loud sounds rang out as the streams of light collided with the barrier. The barrier cracked open and then completely shattered with a bang. The instant that the massive defensive barrier shattered, Qin's soldiers grasped this opportunity and shot out arrows towards the city walls. The expressions of the Shan Mei Kingdom soldiers became quite unsightly. They had paid a great price to make this defensive barrier, yet it had been destroyed so easily. However, they had made preparations, and a massive power once again spread out. Massive blue magic formations appeared on the city walls, and Yin Qi quickly flowed in, causing the blue magic formations to give off intense blue light as round blue shields of light appeared. Bang, bang, bang. The countless arrows that Qin's soldiers shot out were once again blocked by the shields of light and fell to the ground. Zhao Fu slightly frowned and did not continue to use talisman arrows, as he did not have many talisman arrows to begin with. Looking at the blue shields of light, it seemed that the Shan Mei Kingdom's defensive measures were quite powerful. Following this, Zhao Fu ordered the army to condense their soldier qi. If they were not afraid of the shields of light shattering, they would not be able to break through the city walls. Boom! An explosion sounded out as countless Qin soldiers gave off a black aura, forming a large black saber that gave off an intense saber light and a terrifying power. Boom! An explosion once again sounded out as countless traces of black aura condensed, forming an enormous fireball that gave off an intense heat. A heat wave spread out, seeming to be able to incinerate everything. Boom! Another explosion sounded out as countless traces of black aura gathered, forming an enormous snake. Its eyes gave off a cruel and cold gaze, and its body gave off a might that could cause people to feel fear. Massive creatures gave off powerful auras as they floated in the sky above the army, causing the weather to change and clouds to swirl. Under the control of the army, the countless massive creatures gave off shocking power as they ferociously charged at the city walls. Boom! 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 The Shan Mei Kingdom could predict what Zhao Fu was thinking, and the countless Shan Mei soldiers exploded out with their power. Countless traces of blue aura flowed out, forming terrifying massive creatures. Chapter 1844. Bang! Bang! The massive objects gave off shocking power as they collided together, resulting in massive sounds. The collisions caused gales to spread out, causing trees to sway and rocks to fly into the air. Many soldiers were affected by the shock waves and fell backwards. Now that the two massive beasts clashed, shocking shock waves exploded out, but the blue shield of light could not be broken. If the blue shield of light could not be broken, Qin's soldiers would not be able to attack the other side. With the shield of light blocking them, they would not be able to charge up the city walls, while the Mountain Charm soldiers would be able to attack Qin's soldiers. The Mountain Charm Kingdom soldiers smiled. The situation was in their favor. They had already stopped Qin's attacks, and if they could hold on for a while longer, they would definitely be able to win. Qin's soldiers would not be able to keep attacking. Roar! 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 Massive beast roars sounded out, shaking the surroundings. This caused the Mountain Charm Kingdom soldiers' expressions to fall, and they looked towards where the roars were coming from. They saw 100-meter-long beasts giving off terrifying auras, seeming to be able to destroy everything as they rushed towards them. There were ferocious birds flying in the sky, massive spiders, and ferocious wolves. Zhao Fu did not hesitate and directly released the Qin beasts, planning to destroy the blue shield of light. The Mountain Charm Kingdom's soldiers' expressions were quite unsightly. Facing so many terrifying beasts rushing at them, the Mountain Charm Kingdom's soldiers could not help but feel terrified, and their bodies trembled. Fire! The Shanmei Kingdom's general roared, and the soldiers drew their bows to their limits. Arrows containing immense force shot out, looking like black blurs as they shot towards Great Qin's beasts. Facing the incoming arrows, the Qin beasts exploded out with terrifying power. An aura flame burst out from their bodies, causing wild gales to spread out. The arrows that were shot out with great force were first weakened by the strong wind, and then they were blocked by the flames. Most of the arrows were unable to hit the beasts. Only some of the more powerful soldiers were able to hit the beasts, but they were not very effective. Bang! 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 The ferocious beasts gave off shocking power and massive auras as they smashed against the blue shields of light, giving off massive sounds as the blue shields of light started to tremble. The hearts of everyone from the Mountain Charm Nation sank. If these beasts continued to attack, the blue light shield would definitely be broken. They understood that it was impossible for the Yellow Springs Kingdom to possess such terrifying beasts, as it had only been established for a few years. It was impossible for it to nurture such terrifying beasts, and these beasts were definitely from the Yellow Springs Kingdom supporters. Was this the power of the supporters? They were simply too terrifying, and they were definitely a terrifying faction in the Heaven Awakened world. However, they couldn't just stand by and watch as the Qin beasts broke through their light shields. Boom, boom, boom. They also took out their final trump cards. Countless people dressed in robes gathered together and raised a hand as a massive aura burst forth. Massive pillars of gray light containing shocking power shot into the sky, giving off massive sounds. Massive amounts of yin qi gathered in the surroundings, forming thick dark clouds that covered the sky, and a massive cold wind blew out. Zhao Fu knew what the Mountain Charm Nation was going to do, so he ordered the beasts to quickly attack the blue light shield. After receiving Zhao Fu's order, the countless beasts exploded out with even more ferocious auras and madly smashed against the blue light shield. The blue light shield continuously trembled, and some cracks appeared on it. Arg howls sounded out in the sky as 100-meter-tall ghosts that looked like humans and beasts appeared from the dense clouds in the sky, giving off cold and eerie power as they charged at the Qin beasts. Facing the countless ghosts, the Qin beasts gave off shocking power and fearlessly charged over. Boom! 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 The two sides started a ferocious battle, resulting in massive explosions and terrifying shockwave. Swish, swish, swish! At that moment, countless Qin soldiers shot out powerful arrows that tore through the air. The countless arrows quickly hit the blue light shield. The arrows contained immense power as they hit the blue light shields, causing more and more cracks to appear on the blue light shield. The Mountain Charm army felt quite startled and quickly started to attack the Qin soldiers. By now, Great Qin's shield bearers had already gone up, giving off powerful auras as they raised their shields, forming a shield wall that blocked the countless arrows. Swish, swish, swish! The Qin soldiers once again shot out countless arrows, bringing with them immense power as they slammed against the blue light shield. The blue light shields were now covered with cracks and were about to shatter. In the sky, the massive creatures formed from soldier auras fought, and the Qin army gradually gained the advantage. This was because the Qin army was a complete army, and the massive creatures formed from soldier auras were more powerful and more cohesive, as well as purer. On the other hand, the Mountain Charm Kingdom's side was a faction led by the Mountain Charm Kingdom and had all sorts of soldiers. As such, their soldier auras naturally could not compare to those of the Qin army. It was not just in terms of soldier auras. Even though the ghosts that the Mountain Charm Kingdom summoned were incredibly ferocious, the Qin beasts had experienced countless battles and were even more ferocious. Moreover, the beasts had corporeal bodies, while the ghosts had no corporeal bodies. Arg! The ghost's howls sounded out as a ghost was bitten by a massive wolf, and its body was torn apart, turning into ghostly chi and dissipating. A spider used its blade-like legs to cut open the ghost's body, causing it to dissipate into ghostly chi. An eagle-like beast swooped down, its claws giving off ferocious power as it pierced through a ghost's chest, causing it to turn into ghostly chi and dissipate. The mountain charm people's faces became pale because they understood that they were not a match for the Qin soldiers. It was only a matter of time before the ghosts and creatures in the sky were destroyed by the Qin soldiers. Bang! 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 The arrows landed on the blue light shields, causing the blue light shields to shatter and give off massive sound. Now, the Mountain Charm Kingdom was completely defenseless and was completely exposed to the Qin soldiers. Kill! The Qin soldiers roared and gave off a terrifying aura as they flooded towards the city walls and started to attack. Even though the Mountain Charm Kingdom's side did their best to counterattack, the Qin soldiers quickly reached the city walls. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.